Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Australian Survivor Brains V Brawn. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here to break down the Brawn Tribe. And to talk about it with me is, of course, my amazing co-host, the king of all the pre-seasons, Survivor journalist, and the Australian Survivor to my muscly cast person, Mike Blue. Mike, thank you for being here.
Is it just because we go very well together? Is that what the analogy is?
We're always together.
We're always together.
Yes. I mean, we've met 3 times in person, but
Yeah, people associate us.
Yeah, exactly.
Shannon, I am stuffed with shrimp cocktail, and I'm ready to finally talk some prawn. It's been a while, but here we are.
I didn't get it, and I'm glad you explained it. See, this is why it's good to explain the jokes I don't get, because I was like, what shrimp cocktail thing did I miss? But I'm really glad that I didn't.
I will say with this prawn group, I'd spoken about the Brains last week and it said, oh, it seems like unlike the Brains from the previous Brains versus Brawn, this doesn't feel like the mishmash of, okay, we cast a bunch of these people, but they're definitely not Brawn, so we'll throw them all onto the Brains tribe. I would say this doesn't apply, obviously, to all 12 of the people we're about to get into. This feels a bit more like the mishmash tribe, honestly. This does feel like there are some very physical people, but there are a few that's like, well, I guess in this
you're
case,
not brains.
Yeah, you're not a brain, so I guess you're a brawn by proxy, a bronxy.
Yeah, there's some stuff that they've I think stretched to their limits to be like, this is why, so literally.
Well, brawn are notably good at stretching.
Well, maybe not all of them, because literally one person, it was literally like, you are a footy fan. By that metric, am I a brawn?
There is one cast member, actually the first one we'll get into, who wrote on her Instagram post for the cast announcement, this was the only reason why I went to the gym, and she's on the Brawn Tribe.
Oh, see, that's a brawn I can get behind. I didn't think that I related to the brawn, but I do think, firstly, the whole singular plural thing from last week is really messing me up.
I got in your head, didn't I?
Yeah. Secondly, brawns who don't like the gym. Yes, this is a subcategory I didn't know existed, but I'm very, very into. So that's crazy. We do have some housekeeping from last week. Okay, a couple of things. The first one, I just had some questions, right? Like sometimes we go away from a podcast and I think, what?
Particularly with the two of us, that's very fitting.
Yeah. Okay, the first thing, great listener of the podcast, Tommy Guam, says we missed a trick literally with AJ's Matt. Welcome, Matt. It could have been Full House.
Oh.
And I just wanted to, I was like, that was it. The one you came up with was also good, but that was really good. The second thing I wanted to ask, why were we so foot specific with Karen?
I don't know why. Yes, it has been brought to my attention that orthopedics does not specifically refer to just the feet. What I will say, I think I had in my head, like orthopedic shoes is usually what I think of when I think of orthopedics. And so I almost always think of the feet when obviously it's pertaining to the entire body.
Right. So I thought one of two things. I thought one, like there was some sort of foot thing I had missed and I tried to find it and I couldn't. And then I thought maybe you just weirdly made it feet.
Listen, there are a lot of weird things I do out here on the internet. Feet is not one of them.
Okay, good to know. We'll just cross that off the list. I'm really glad that this is the housekeeping. The other thing I've been seeing a bit online, this isn't about the podcast, but something that's upsetting me a little bit is people are like, I just want to get to AUV World. And AUV World is a culmination of my existence as a human being in my almost 32 years on this earth. I get it. Believe me, I'm excited. I love returning seasons as well. I know you're more of a newbie season fan. I particularly love returning seasons.
Newbies over doobies is what I always say.
I don't think that works. But anyway, I'm extremely excited for AUV World. But imagine if last year with Titans v Rebels, we just yada yada it. That's one of the best seasons of all time. And they're saying this is really good. So I just wish people would just give it its time and then don't keep rushing through the good stuff to get to the next phase. We'll enjoy this, we'll enjoy that. I'm just a little bit upset that it's not been given its due and its time,
Oh, listen, I completely co-sign that. I mean, it's taken me back, Shannon, to the fall of 2003 when people are like, Pearl Islands, I don't really care. I hear Survivor All-Stars is coming in spring 2004. And as we all know, the expectation of Survivor All-Stars certainly lived up to the hype. And
Pearl Islands is a very mess season.
Exactly. So I'm very much a take things as they come. Yes, I understand the hype behind AU versus the world. But also, we'll obviously cross that bridge when we get to it many months down the line. But I also think some of the circumstances behind the AU versus the world season in terms of structure make this season that we're getting into a little bit more of the Australian Survivor that we
I
know
think
and
everyone knows
love.
it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, so like
I think you can say that.
so this feels like more of the meat and potato stuff that we're gonna get. That feels like more of a special treat. Back of like
Yeah.
like what RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars used to be of like, oh, this is interesting, but it still feels like this is kind of what I come on and expect at the beginning of every year as a brand new Survivor AU season. You know, the man in charge of this all, Rob Cesternino, always likes to say lowered expectations are the key to happiness. So despite, you know, the promos telling us that there is going to be explosions from the minute they step foot on the beach, I'm really excited to see what this group of newbies is going to bring and hopefully get us primed and ready that only by the time it finishes, like 6 months down the line, hopefully, then they'll say, oh yeah, and come back around because there's even more AU to follow.
I don't think it's going to be 6 months.
I mean, so what
You're right. That is 6
the
months.
rumors have been Q3. Parvati stepped onto an interview and said July. I don't know how founded that is from her perspective, but
well, they said from 10 that it's Q3.
Right.
So that's what I'm banking
So
on.
that's going to be
Q3. So that's
July,
July, August, September. Yeah. So at that point. But now we're talking about AUV Worlds. It was a problem. No more on that. Okay. This is the Brawn Tribe. Let's talk about these Brawns, these gym hating Brawns. Yeah. So interesting. Firstly, I hadn't looked at the ages on the Survivor Wiki of the whole cast. It's an interestingly like kind of older cast, I feel, which is refreshing.
It is, yeah.
And on this tribe, especially, so many parents. I thought that would be really good for the parents. Like, you know, usually sometimes it's like a lot of young people, especially like even like in the new era, I feel, in any Survivor really, you tend to the new era and then like the kind of older people have to be the parents. But now I feel like all the parents will connect and maybe people without kids will be more left out.
Yeah, so we have I feel like we have a couple of people in their 40s and their 50s on each tribe, which to your point, especially in the new era when you have those smaller tribes, it's very rare going to get two people in that same age bracket together. So they almost always get kind of typecast in those roles on the beach as like, oh, you're the dad or you're the mom. So that's what also helps in these tribes of 12 is that it lessens the chance that some of the people will kind of be pigeonholed into those parental roles. And to your point, it also gives somebody else to connect over as well, that you feel less kind of off on an island by yourself. It's like, oh my God, I'm running around with a bunch of people that could be my own children, and I'm the only one who is in a different tax bracket.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a really good, like, it's a good age diversity because it's like, I think it's like 23 to 54. I didn't think Kent was 54. He was looking great. But I think that it's not even just like, oh, it's 23 to 54, but like 20 of them are between 23 and 32. And then like one's in their 40s, you know, and one's in their 50s. Right. Like it's actually like really consistent age-wise. And yeah, a lot of parents. So that's kind of like the main thing I'm looking at from this tribe. As you said, a lot of brawn, but are they brawnier than the very brawny Brains tribe that we looked at last week? Like, I genuinely don't know. That was a very strong tribe as well.
Yeah, which is a good sign is that it is relatively more well-balanced. You know, I don't think we want another champions versus contenders on either side, where the first one, the contenders got walloped. The second one, the champions got walloped. I think AU wants to keep it a fairly even battle so that they can continue this theme throughout the rest of the season. So I think it's a very interesting group of people in particular, because we saw this with the Brawn a little bit, at least starting out, was how, at least on the forefront, they were very strength focused because that was kind of their thing, as opposed to like Brains were more so known for strategy. Luckily, the Brawn last time are really able to crack that wide open as soon as Simon and Shannon started like immediately trying to vote each other out, even as other people were getting voted out in the process. And we'll get to it. Look, we're going to go off of the marketing materials that Survivor AU has provided us. And we will say there is some explicit stuff that happens in what seems to be the opening episode that does get mentioned with one contestant's package. I think we'll brief people ahead of time just to like let people know about that. But if that tone kind of carries over into the rest of the tribe, it seems like they're ready to follow in Brawn's very deep footprints.
Yeah, well, and there's also some stuff on social media. There's some stuff around where I'm like, should I know this? But we have to talk about it.
I mean, listen,
spoiler warning.
We've been in this territory before. Did we not have the Jaden Winna crossover that we didn't realize was the thing until we were doing preseason coverage last year?
I mean, also for Survivor UK, they wrote their answers after the season, and I'd have to be like heavily redact everything they said. So this is better than that, but there is some stuff we'll talk about. I'm excited to get to it. Let's get to our cast. This is Candy. Candy's first because I'm going with the women first.
Unlike the way you should eat, Candy comes first here.
That's how I eat Candy.
That's your Candy rule, if you will, and that's her name, Candy Rule.
Oh, the Candy Rule. That's pretty good. That's a good name. Candy is a model, country girl, has a bit of Courtney Yates vibe, at least on looks alone.
Very much Courtney Yates vibes. I think it is that, platinum, bleach, blonde, bob hair. It is due to the fact that, I mean, listen, she does look muscular, especially in this picture where she's showing off her muscles, but like she is the person, again, who wrote in her Instagram caption, introducing the brawniest brawn in Survivor history and the only reason I was going to the gym. I do think compared to the rest of the tribe, she does seem to be the most petite out of them. So I can't help but draw comparisons.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can draw comparisons to last year's model Valeria, who had the big wardrobe choice. She has like the kind of green velvet pants. Are they velvet? Yes. That could be the worst possible material for the island.
Imagine they have to be authentically velvet. Like, this is someone who has a lot of prestige to her career. She has modeled for brands like Adidas, Glue Store, and Poppy Lisman. Is Glue Store like what I think it is, or is it the name of a brand of clothing?
Is what you think it is a store that sells glue?
Yes.
Obviously it's not that.
Because in America, we have the Christmas tree shop, and I was wondering if it was that literal.
Glue is like a brand, like a kind of skatery brand. Obviously, she did a model.
Oh, skatery brand. She might have someone to connect with.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like that. Like, do you think that she was just holding glue?
I just thought she was like, hey, check out our glue at the glue store.
Jesus Christ. This is the kind of thing I'm glad I asked about her. I'd have to ask on the next podcast. Like, why did you think that she modeled with glue? No.
Well, modeling glue is very important.
That's, completely different. So why is she brawn if she doesn't go to the gym? Well, she says about being a model, you can be mentally and physically tired, getting accidentally pinned by a tailor, drive-by on the tailors, or someone burns you with a curling wand, you just get on with it. Now, as we all know, I've spoken about this on the podcast, I once did sit on my straightener and burn my butt. So I do understand it is a jungle out there. And by out there, I mean in my room when I don't turn off my straightener and sit on it by accident.
By proxy, to go back to our conversation that started this entire podcast off last week, I think you're the brawn, because you have arguably, through this logic, gone through the brawniest thing compared to myself.
That was painful. Okay, I didn't enjoy it. You're right. And I don't go to the gym. If this is what brawn is, not going to the gym and burning yourself on straighteners and curling ones, like,
I don't want to be right.
I have no argument. I didn't know. So we've kind of, fit a bit of a square peg into a round hole, but she could have been a brain. It says she is dyslexic, but has fought through that to get a literature degree, which sounds pretty brainy to me. That sounds impressive. And yeah, why not a brain?
This feels more like a rebel who found her way onto the wrong season. Like, in particular, that thing of I was dyslexic, so like to try to push against the world, I went to go get a literature degree to prove what I was capable of. Like, I feel like she's one season too long here on her casting.
Yeah, well, my concern is, right, I know that I have to start putting some people post-merge, right? Someone's going to make the merge. And I had a post-merge because I'm like, she seems nice. But now that you're saying that she didn't want to go to the gym, or she doesn't go to the gym and she's like the smallest on this Brawn tribe, like, but they don't need necessarily so much strength. So maybe I'll keep a post-merge. But like, that is concerning from like a physical, like, or what they might value kind of capacity.
Yeah, I had her going pre-merge, and it's to the point where, again, I do not want to necessarily typecast based on size, but I would imagine if Brawn loses early on and some of the bigger heads are saying, well, we got to get rid of the physically weakest, it might be someone like Candy. Now, that being said, if Brawn decides to repeat what they usually do and start going at loggerheads and then just say, yeah, we could vote off Candy, but that doesn't matter right now. We got to get rid of like our immediate threats. Then she might be able to slip by, but she basically has one of two ways she could go. She could either become the Courtney Yates of China, where it's like, oh, you were dead in the water, yet you somehow found your way through with the right allies and made your way to the end. Or you're Courtney Yates in Heroes versus Villains, which is like, Jeff Probst is the one calling you out at Tribal Council of why are you here instead of Boston Rob, and you eventually get clipped when your tribe loses one too many times.
Yeah, it can go in two kind of Courtney directions for her, but I'm going to say post-merge. I thought it was interesting. She's a model, but she's not an influencer. She doesn't have like a big platform. They had someone who does later on. So I thought that was kind of interesting because usually the models they go for are like big names with like 100,000 followers at least. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
Well, it's always tough to discern from these AU bios what the level of fandom, if there is any, for these players are.
Oh, yeah,
Candy does seem to be one of the bigger fans on this tribe, considering that she had a Survivor-themed 8th birthday party with DIY challenges. So that was 17 years ago. So that was about 2008. Hey, that was around the time now, right after Survivor China, where her progenitor Courtney Yates prevailed.
Wow, that makes me feel old and sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Soak it in, Shannon. That's your 30s.
2000. Wait, she was 8. It was right around the start of Survivor. Isn't everyone in their 30s? Don't we all grow up together? No one can be younger than me.
She's as old as the show.
That makes me feel old too. All right. Will we have to give them all reality shows for the people who didn't listen to the Brains cast assessment? Firstly, how dare you? Secondly, that feels like a weird way. Yeah, like don't do that. That's not how this is meant to be digested. We're giving them all reality shows.
Again, no candy first when you're usually digesting, and no brawn first when you're digesting these podcasts.
Yes, and listen to both. It would be. Well, imagine if you're like, I'm just brawn focused. I guess maybe some of the players. I put her on Australia's Next Top Model.
Yeah, so did I. I mean, listen. Yeah. Are you wish casting, Shannon? Do you want to be against her in an all-star season?
Oh, you can. I'd never go back on that show if you paid me money, and also it's canceled. So like, there's no show to go on. And I'm 32 now, almost.
If we bill it as Candy versus Shannon, they'll show up at the door. The masses will thrum in. Screw maths. That's going to be the new breadwinner for 10.
When I was on Australia's Next Top Model, the 22-year-olds were like, they're hitting the end of their kind of career. Like that sounded like, well, I guess just because we were like meant to be like starting, but they were like, we can kind of make an exception for some of the 22-year-olds. So I don't think that me at 31, even Candy, as much as she had an 8-year-old birthday party in 2008, I don't think that either of us right now could go on Australia's Next Top Model.
I could also see her on Dondi. I think it could be very fun, as like Claudia Jordan was on the first season and she was a former case model for Deal or No Deal. It could be fun to have her on as a contestant and make commentary about the 2 case models they choose to bring on there.
She's not a case model though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter though. She has
to become first a case
And
model.
I think, again, she has a fandom for these types of shows, so I think she'd be willing to play. And certainly the excursions, the challenges they do, they get freaking iced tea at the end. It is not exactly the slumming it that you do on Survivor.
Yeah, no gym needed. Well, also the welcome mats that I now had some time for, obviously we're doing. I really love hers. Like when I came up with hers, I was like, wow, I still got it. But I don't feel like I really
got it. It's been a week.
Yeah, I was like, I thought that might have been a fluke. I was so good at it. But then when I did that, I'm like, maybe I should make this a business because Candy's was so good. But I don't know that I hit that high again for the whole rest of the podcast. But it's Home Sweet Home.
Oh, I love that. That's a sugar high. We'll see when the crash comes for you.
Yeah. Also, you can just easily buy that. It's just a standard welcome mat, but it just has more meaning because her name is Candy.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I thought. This is Kate. Kate's next. Hello, Kate. Kate's a DJ and a dancer. We spoke about this a bit on the
get yourself a person who can do both.
Yeah, DJ and dance. I feel like those two things go hand in hand.
I mean, usually the events that I attended in my youth, which were usually bar mitzvahs, I feel like it was a package deal where it was like a DJ and then 2 dancers came in to like really rile the crowd up and like festoon my drunken dad and a bunch of random props that he would dance his ass off to until 1 a.m. It feels like Kate is double dipping a little bit, which is good. It means you don't have to necessarily pay a DJ. Where like she's able to do it all, right? She can lay down the beats and then she'll dance to said beats.
I think maybe she does both. I don't know if she does them both at the same time.
Do you think she dances to her own music?
Well, yeah, but I don't think that counts as being a dancer. Like I think most DJs dance to their own music.
No, but like there's a difference between like sitting in the booth and like going out and doing a full routine, which is what I think she does. I
don't think she does that together. I think that you can hire her as a DJ or you can hire her as a dancer.
Oh, really? No, she has a partner too. They're part of a company called Chaos Dancers and DJs. And so maybe like they switch off.
Yeah. So she directs a dance company. So she has her own company. And then she's in this DJ duo that like has a single out, like they're like artists. I thought the duo was with her sister, but was I just assuming that because
they're both blonde?
They look similar. Yeah. Interesting about this. Her sister, or not, Her partner, who may be her sister, who's also blonde. I thought because they both said Chaos, but I'm like, that's not their last name, is it?
Nope, it's not. It is Glaufkis.
Oh, well, I see
Butchering
why you
that
changed it to
pronunciation.
Chaos. Yeah. Okay, I assumed they had the same last name, and I thought their last name was Chaos. And I was like, with a last name like that, like, yeah, you should make like a dance
Kate
troupe and a DJ
Chaos
duo.
is one of the top 5 names I've ever heard in my life. I'm
That
so
would be
sad that's not the
incredible.
case. Kate
You
Chaos.
have to go into doing something cool. Okay, whatever. Her sister or not, her maybe sister, who's in the duo with her, was one of the girls on F Boy Island last year.
What?
So clearly, this is like a duo that people are like the TV presenters are like finding for their shows, which is like they have followers and stuff, but it's not like, again, like they're like particularly influencers, but both of them within the span of a year have been on TV. So something's happening here.
I will say, with no offense to Kate, though, she admits, I think, in her, Instagram announcement that she picked something maybe a little more worthy of F-Boy Island than the Survivor Island. This is, oh boy, you talked about this in the kickoff, right? Denim on denim. Rupert Boneham
Rhinestone
famously
denim.
said, it grinds against the skin.
Yeah, a really good image for all of us to have with Rupert. Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be a difficult top to wear, I think, in challenges. Hopefully she'll get some other stuff. This is honestly 2 for 2 so far on ridiculous outfit choices.
Yeah, you usually get multiple outfits on Survivor AU. We get it on American Survivor as well, but I think especially for AU.
Yeah, because they're out there for 100 days.
Yes, and also like she is legitimately wearing basically like a broken down pair of bell bottoms as a vest. This look, I mean, listen, this is an incredible look. As soon as a drop of precipitation falls out of the clouds above Samoa, she is going to regret every single choice she has made in her life for the past umpteenth days.
But she said she's doing it on purpose because like she wants people to like underestimate her. Like that's the whole persona she's putting out there.
Yeah, but like I could wear a clown costume if I wanted people to underestimate me. Would I want to live for 40-something days in a clown costume? Sometimes it's not worth it.
I mean, a clown costume would be better than the 2 outfits we've seen, I think.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea, right? That you want to play up this perception of like, you can trust me, but you don't need to assume I'm any sort of threat. Look at me. I'm just a girly girl. What am I doing out here? I don't even know. And then, as we usually see with, as you say, the parabolic women that tends to come on Australian Survivor, you last long enough. All the other tall poppies get taken out. And look who's here, dancing her way to the end. So
dancing through life, some might say.
Exactly. And I'm sure she could show off some moves.
You're on the island.
Exactly. Listen, I really hope. Listen, there's some cold opens that I'm already manifesting for this tribe in particular because it's a very musical group. But I really hope that Kate is able to come up with some sort of group dance or find her own non-sister partner on the island to coordinate.
That is her sister. Was that not her sister? Her last name not Chaos? Everything that I believed is a lie.
So let's talk about a big piece of Kate's story here, which is the fact that she has OCD. And look, this is something that we all, I feel like, kind of have some modicum of in our lives, some more than others. It does seem like the type that Kate has is very routine based. And again, I do not want to necessarily like immediately slam the door on somebody because it's like, oh, you have OCD, that means you can't win Survivor. But, following her on social media and the way she was describing some stuff, she actually told a very funny story where she was in a club, doing a gig, and then she was walking her way out of the club, but she had to like do her routine. So she like had to go back and like do a couple of, things to help her mind stay nice and alleviated. And like she found some people staring at her and she was ready to buck up to them being like, yeah, I have OCD, F you. But it turns out that actually they were looking at the person behind her who was Drake. And so she's like, the one time I finally got brave is because people were looking at Drake instead of me. I don't know. Again, I really do not want to make assumptions about how her OCD will manifest itself out on the island. The way it was described in this bio and in some of these videos, I do have some fears, especially from like a challenge perspective,
Okay, I think I can speak to this a lot.
Please do. Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people, maybe have some tendencies, or maybe some people are like, we all do that, with a lot of things. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so OCD about this. I have like diagnosed like moderate to somewhat debilitating OCD, I would say. Actually, especially in the last week, my OCD has been horrendously bad. So I really firstly respect Kate for coming out with a representation.
Yeah.
And secondly,
absolutely.
like I fully feel for her, and the way that I relate to it, like the way that she describes, like our compulsions are very different, but the huge time suck, 100%. Like, especially last week when my OCD was so bad, like that took up like days of mine. And I was just like, oh, my brain is broken. And will it ever like right itself? So I was trying to think about how this would manifest on the island. I think there are two things not in her favor, but one thing that might trump all of it. And this is just speaking from my experience. The first one is OCD, I think, thrives in time. Like for me, when I have a lot of time on my hands, my OCD, I think that's why it's been really bad. Like it's been a slower start to the year. So my OCD will be worse because I have time to feed the compulsions. And then once you start feeding it, I feel like you make time to feed it. And now you're in like a self-perpetuating cycle. And it's like you can't get out of it. And it's like quicksand. That's how I feel. There's a lot of time on the island. So I think that is bad, that she could then like get into her own head. Again, completely from my own experience. Not sure how it would affect her. The second is like a lack of control, I think is very bad. My OCD was diagnosed when it was particularly bad during the lockdowns, I think because I had no control over anything, that I, went to this type of control. And you don't have control in Survivor. So I wonder if that would happen. But the third thing that I think is very good against OCD that might help her a lot, and this is for me, I think deprivation can like really diminish OCD. Like during Australian Survivor, when I'm more stressed, my OCD is like the one mental illness I have that I feel like gets put on the back burner, have the other ones go forward, that one goes back. I think for her, like I'm trying to think back, like when I'm really sick, I feel like I blow past my OCD a little bit more. Maybe that's just my thing, but I feel like it surpasses that. That's why I say moderate to debilitating, because then I feel like it's so much better. So for her, if she's so deprived, or if she was in a challenge, I feel like for me, if I was in a challenge and maybe mine is better, I feel like I could put that thing first. Like I feel like if I'm in a podcast, my OCD in the podcast, in this environment, is not bad at all. Now that I'm thinking about it, it feels bad. But like, you know what I mean? Like in this, when I'm focused on this task,
it's
afterwards it might be bad. But when my focus is so much on this, I feel like that shuts out all of the compulsions, because it's a whole mental thing, right? So that's for me the thing. So I think maybe being so deprived could actually be helpful. I've thought a lot about this clearly.
No, that's a really, really valuable perspective, I think. And again, who knows, her situation might be entirely different, but I think it's a good thing to give voice to. And I'm glad, to your point, that she is as well, because it's something that many people deal with in many different regards. I did have her pre-merge also for the fact that she does admit in her bio, like, I'm going to play an emotional game, but hopefully people won't see it as a weakness.
I love her. She's emotional. She has OCD. Thank you, Kate. Thank you. You're great. Represent.
Yeah. So, I think that it's not exactly a non-starter. Look, there are plenty of people who play emotional games and go on to aplomb in Survivor around the world. I would love to be surprised by Kate in many ways. And I think if she does triumph, I think it would also really speak to the message that she's trying to put forward as well with her casting in the first place, of like, as someone who has OCD, who commits herself to these routines, the fact that I was able to make it fit within this incredibly stressful context in Survivor and thrive as a result, that's a hell of a message to send home.
Yeah, I mean, I put her pre-merge too, because everyone's pre-merge. Because I'm underestimating her as well. I'd also love to be wrong. I think the representation is really cool. I know that, with like Caroline in Survivor 47 and like the way she spoke about ADHD, I know how much that meant to you. To me, to see someone who's speaking about like OCD is so irritating at the very least. It takes up a ton of time. And I really, really appreciate her representation on that and being so open and honest about it. I really love all of that. I hope she proves me wrong on the pre-merge stuff. I had her on So You Think You Can Dance, but then I thought maybe FY Island, though. Maybe we put her on FY Island if her non-sister is on it.
Or maybe like Love Island.
Okay.
Love Island, I feel like, is at least a little bit more of a longer commitment where you get to know the personalities a bit more. And I would be intrigued, especially as someone who admits that she'll play an emotional game. Like, I feel like she is ripe for some of that good, juicy drama that comes with Love Island.
Yeah. All right. Any of those things. There's a lot for her. Okay. And
there's a lot for her out there.
For her, welcome, Matt. Not so good. I had wipe off your dancing shoes.
Wipe off your dancing shoes?
Yeah, like wipe your shoes, but dancing shoes.
What about like drop the beat or something involving a DJ?
What about like tap in?
Tap what
Because
in?
tap like dancing, but tap in to the house.
But like, what do you
and
mean
then tap out on the way out?
Yeah, like tap out. Like I'm gonna tap out. No one's saying like, yeah, I'm gonna tap in right now. Ding dong.
Actually, tap in was a really big plot line in Only Murders in the Building, but tap in and tap out.
See, I feel like tap in is more so like contributing to a conversation, and tap out is associated more with an exit to me than tap in is with an entrance.
I think it works. I told you they're not all winners, okay? They can't all be home sweet home. It's all downhill from there. There was one good one, but I can't remember it. I'm excited to get to whatever that is. All right, next person is Kristen. Here's Kristen. Kristen has such an interesting job. She's an aviation firefighter, which is wild to me because it's like one of those things is a lot. Like, how are you both? Like, that sounds made up. That sounds like an action movie title that they made up to me.
Yeah, so this is, I don't know, it reminds me a bit of like the fire country of it all, of like, I was initially thinking of like forest fires, like, oh, you're going down from aviation, like you're parachuting down from a plane to do this. But no, it's more so to like offer any emergency at an airport, right? Like if there's a fuel spillage or anything going on.
Yeah, she works at the airport. That's what she said. She's on call to respond to any emergency at the airport, from first aid to fuel spills to accidents and water rescue. So yeah, I mean, that's a lot. She's great. She's backpacked everywhere. She's been to every continent. She's been to the Antarctic Circle. This is just from her Instagram. Kayaking, rafting. She hikes over hundreds of kilometers. Where do they find these people? Am I the problem?
Oh, yeah, her and Kaylin are gonna bond over all the kilometers he's hiked the length of Norway.
I think a lot of, I think that actually, yes, they could bond on, but I think a lot of them could bond over this stuff. She's super physical. She seems really strong. She says, a common misconception about me is that my kindness is a weakness. I'm kind because I think it's nice to be kind, but if you don't deserve my kindness, I cut you forever.
That literally is, you F with me, you're dead.
Yeah. What do you think about Kristen?
I really like Kristen as well.
Yeah.
I think she is going to, for me, I mean, I sort of had someone else in this category, a couple of people of like, you know, the woman that is really going to absolutely beast in these like 1v1 battle of the big boys brawls that will happen. I think Kristen is someone that's going to surprise a lot of people because, again, you assume that her role initially is like, you think aviation is just like, oh, you're just like sitting back at the airport waiting for fires to come. But like, she is a firefighter. And as someone who, you know, is revealing interviews with not one, but two firefighters in Survivor 48, like, there's a reason why a lot of the time they do well. It's an incredibly physical job. And it's interesting because also what might come with the firefighting job is this idea of kind of like an all for one, one for all mentality, right? Of like, we're a team, we need to work together towards this common cause. And some people like a Jeremy Collins, a Tom Westman, are able to kind of like put that aside and be able to, you know, extend the ladder for themselves if need be in an individual capacity. And it seems like Kristen is in that type of wheelhouse as well, to the point of the quote you mentioned.
Yeah, I was going to put her pre-merge because people hate moms. But then I saw this tribe and I'm like, there's so many parents across the board. There's, you know, a lot of people in their 40s. There's other women who are similar age to her. Not on the tribe, she's the oldest woman. But even then, there's like there are people who are older than her on the tribe. There are men who are older than her. There are women and people, a lot of them who are in their mid-30s, which is still very different to being 43 and then like the next is like 28. You know, I think there's like, again, with that age diversity, and she's super strong. Like, I actually really like Kristen and felt like she was a possible winner pick for me. I went with someone else, but she was in the conversation for me. So I put her post-merge.
Yep, I did as well.
Yeah, I put her on the summit.
Yep, I did as well. I think that makes a lot of sense. Or something like The Amazing Race. It obviously involves a lot of world travel and hiking.
Yeah, and
like could you imagine like her with like a fellow aviation firefighter? You know, Amazing Race loves their firefighting teams.
Maybe she should bond with Kaylin. Didn't we say Kaylin would win? Was he the one who we said would win?
Yes,
yeah,
we said that.
Win.
Oh, well, he's on.
And we were looking for a partner.
That'd be interesting. Kaylin and Kristen. There we go. K and K.
They would win. Luckily, there's not another K in there. But yeah, the two Ks I think are fine. And if they went on Amazing Race together, like they genuinely win. Like he's super, super physical. He's also hugely into travel, all of that. She's a huge traveler. Clearly fine on a plane. Very fit.
Clearly, you don't have a fear of flying.
No fear of flying. Although, God forbid, I mean, she's the one seeing like the things that go wrong. That would give me a fear. But like, she seems pretty fearless. The most impressive thing, I think, we found the perfect Amazing Race team who cannot lose. Go on the Amazing Race, please.
Actually, I don't know. If it were me, I don't know. I feel like maybe the two of us would automatically jump to the worst case scenarios. I think if I'm Kristen, I'm like, well, I know if something's coming from a mile away. You know, like I can jump into crisis mode. The worst thing would be when it takes you out of nowhere and blindsides you. But she's able to see the blindside coming from a mile away in the plane.
That would be good on the show as well.
Yes, exactly. Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see if it carries over. I feel like also, given Kristen's career, and again, not to sort of, again, typecast based on career, but it does feel like she would be someone to like get in good with an alliance. Like they would want to keep the loyal firefighter around. And listen, I hope there might come a point, most explosive season ever, where she does inevitably turn on people, make the moves that she needs to. I agree. She was definitely on my short list for winner picks. I think the reason why I left her off is because I don't know her level of fandom. There wasn't really mention of it in her bio. And so I don't exactly know how much she knows about the game. But listen, Kirby,
really
another
important.
K, is firsthand showing that like sometimes you just have innate skills that you can apply. Knowledge of the show be damned.
Yeah, I think she's a good pick. Also, can you imagine a worse Amazing Race team than the two of us?
Don't sell us short. I think we can find two worse people in the world than the two of us.
I don't think we could. I think it would be so bad. Are you good with heights?
Yeah, I'm good with heights.
Yeah, I can do heights. Okay, great. Well, I can both do heights. What's the point of that?
Oh, yeah, we need to fill. Well, that's the point, is that we need to be symbiotic. We need to fill in each other's holes.
Okay. Yeah, it would be really bad. It would be not good, I think. I need a nap a lot. So that would be my major issue.
Well, there are like 12-hour pit stops where you can nap the entire time. There's layovers in airports.
I do sleep on planes pretty well. Should we go on the Amazing Race together? Should we do this? Should we be first boots on the Amazing Race together?
I guess let's maybe apply to, I don't know, like America, US Amazing Race. There have a greater chance of it actually being on, but I feel like there's a greater pool as compared to Australian Amazing Race. So I don't know which one we'd rather go with.
What do you mean it's a greater chance of being on?
Because there's obviously a much larger applicant pool for US Amazing Race.
Right. But also in Australia, they're only doing celebrities, and I don't think we count.
I think you count. When you come back and you win Australia's Next Top Model, Shannon versus Candy.
Age of 31, yeah. Yeah. They would just be like Shannon and Mike, stupid podcasters. And then we like show up day one and we're against Kristen and Kaylin. We're like, just go home.
Yeah.
This is it. They'd be the type of team that like wins every leg and then wins the whole thing.
Oh no, I'd sabotage them.
Yeah.
I'd send them into oncoming traffic. I wouldn't care.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's over there.
You could, like break their leg, they'd still lap us a million times.
Exactly. No, I can't hamper them physically. I have to hamper them mentally somehow.
Oh, you meant oncoming traffic like you'd set them into traffic, not like you'd set them into like oncoming traffic to die.
No, not that.
Oh, that's what I thought you meant. And I was like, that's a lot, but I respect it. Like, that's competitive. You meant to go to traffic. You just want to slightly inconvenience them. That's not enough, okay? They're amazing together. They haven't even met. They're not on the same tribe.
Or maybe they're so nice that we'll be like, oh, can we take this taxi instead of you? Thank you. We love you. Bye.
And they still beat us to the pit stop. Anyway, they'd be great. I'm glad we put this together. For the welcome mat, I had ready for takeoff, brackets, your shoes.
Or it could be like wheels up.
Yeah, wheels up. Yeah. Or like, why am I, when the plane goes up and down, what's it called?
Taking off and landing?
Landing. You can have that. Take off and landing. I was like, descent?
You usually sleep on planes. You don't know what they say on those intercoms.
I don't. True story, and then we will actually get back to the players. One time I was on a plane. Before it took off, I'm already asleep. It's like, I think that the plane's like, gone. Like an hour later, I'm woken up by the person next to me. He's like, we have to get off the plane because there's a mechanical failure. It had never gone. And I missed all of that. Like I literally woke up, everyone's leaving. I'm like, have we reached our international destination? They're like, no. Okay.
Yeah,
we're still in Bangkok.
That is that candy just held in front of you and then just snatched away. Like, you think you slept through the whole flight? Nope. You slept through 1 hour on the tarmac.
Yeah, I do love a good plane nap. Anyway, I'm glad we are going to go on the Amazing Race together. This is Morgan. Morgan's here. Morgan's an Olympic sprinter.
Yes. So I think her credits were that so she's made it to 3 world championships, 2 Commonwealth Games and 2 Olympics. And I believe maybe it was in 2012 or 2016, she actually made the finals in the 4x400 relay. So I believe the most recent one she contributed in was in Tokyo back in 2021. So I don't know if she's like retired, but she is still someone that is incredibly athletic, despite the fact that she might not have gone to the most recent Olympics.
Well, it says she switched to the 800 meters and is one of only a few athletes who've been able to compete in the Olympics in both races. So maybe that was after.
Yeah, that could be it as well. But obviously, given her career, she is kind of like one of the centerpieces of a lot of, especially when they do ads of like Brains versus Brawn. Like, she has the biggest commendations to her. She went to the freaking Olympics. She definitely is the biggest qualifier that we usually get with like these champions, these Brawn tribes, right? Of like, you've been to the top of the top from an athletic perspective, but how will you fare on Survivor?
Yeah, only in Australian Survivor are we like, but which Olympics? How recent?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, again, it is pretty dang wild that Australian Survivor had people like Stephen Bradbury on there and Shane Gould, who also won. Like, as someone who is outside of this country,
Olympians do ridiculously well.
Yeah, like this, it's wild. We had so much celebrity casting, especially back in the day, but like nobody came close. Lisa Whelchel was the closest one, I think, to winning the title of Sole Survivor. You've had a couple of Olympians get on the show and actually win, or like people who come on like Matt Rogers and like cut a swath through the game.
I feel like we have a very high like percentage of Olympians and athletes just in our society, and then a very high percentage of that on Survivor. So, and then we have themes that are like champions, contenders, brains,
right?
Like things that also then put that to the front of the line.
Yeah, and also I dare not strike down another celebrity casting. Mike White, hashtag Mike White was robbed, also came very close to winning as well. But yeah,
Morgan, Olympians.
So Morgan, again, I'm not entirely sure what she knows about the show, but she did apparently one day wake up at 4 a.m. like a possessed demon and looked at her fiance and said that she was winning.
Okay, so I need to address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
And if you don't want spoilers based on people's own social media, maybe skip ahead a bit. Maybe skip ahead a little bit because I want to talk. It's going to be a lot for me to talk about. Okay. So Morgan recently engaged. She wants to win to pay for the wedding. On her social media, Morgan is pregnant with twins. Mazel tov. You know, it's funny because I do always say that everyone comes off Australian Survivor and immediately has kids. Very true for Morgan and two of them. She's really got everyone beat on that.
She appropriately fast-tracked the path, yes.
Yes, very much. So I know what we're all thinking, and let's talk about it. Well, we're all thinking the same thing. When were these children conceived?
Yeah.
What is happening? Like, was she on the show pregnant without knowing, but they would do a pregnancy test? Or did she come off the show and what is happening timeline-wise?
So that's the thing. I am, a devoted follower of the challenge, and they have had a runner, for lack of a better term, for a while now.
There was like conception times.
Well, there was a streak of seasons where contestants would be pregnant and production wouldn't know about it. And like Natalie Anderson, for example, was on a season of the challenge and had to leave because she was pregnant. There was someone who made the finale of the challenge and had to bow out because they realized that she was pregnant. So I am you.
In the finale, at that point, I think you see it through.
They were like in frigid
temperatures.
For a penny. And it was like, I think it was just way too, listen, it was at a certain point where it's like, it's either your child or it's this like paltry sum you get for showing up here. So like, I am not sure. Listen, we joked about maybe some of the negligence that Australian Survivor production has shown in the past when it comes to the physical well-being of these players. But for the life of me, I cannot do the math to figure out how this came to be.
I tried. I genuinely, like, Morgan would have been probably my winner pick, right? She ticks all the boxes. She's friends with Liz. Yes. I saw that she seems to be friends from before. They're Olympians. That makes sense. Athletic woman who might win, like, a final challenge. All of these things. A couple of red flags. The first one was that in the previews, she's already, like, in a confrontation with Nash. Although we'll talk about Nash, and I kind of feel like people might be on her side with that. But the other thing is I'm just like, now I feel like I have to put a pre-merge because I think maybe if she was on the jury, she wouldn't be conceiving a child. Like I had to get out the calendar and try and work out when
Shannon, maybe in Australian Survivor this year, they upped the budget and allowed for conjugal visits.
I literally said the same thing to Peter. But then even that doesn't make sense because that would be at the end. It would have to be quite an early conjugal visit, I feel.
Well, listen,
the first child conceived
you could
on
have like
Survivor
a
would be great.
Lydia Lucilla upside where like she makes the merge and is such a physical beast that they're immediately like, all right, we got to get rid of her right now or else she's running the table.
I think I'm just confused because I know that she was on Survivor and I know that she conceived twins, and I'm just really confused at how she did both. Also, you'd think it would wreck your body to like immediately. I don't know. Well, now getting to her health, I don't want to do that, but I'm just saying I was really confused about the situation, and I made her pre-merge because of it, because I don't understand how you could have the time to play Australian Survivor for at least a very long time and then like now be like fairly pregnant with twins, and I just don't. Okay, I think the people who skipped ahead can probably come back in now, but I'm putting her pre-merge. That's where I'm at with that.
You know what I say? Screw the timeline. I'm going with merge for Morgan. I think outside of maybe some assumptions, I don't see a reason to get rid of her unless she is, to your point about the marketing materials, incredibly outspoken, that she becomes a bit of like a lightning rod, especially if the opposition begins to amass numbers. She could be someone who gets taken out, but I do think that, I don't know, outside of that clip, I had actually had thoughts of her kind of being the Flick of this season, in that she is someone who didn't...
my winner pick.
Yeah, someone who like doesn't know about the show, someone who does seem like is a fantastic asset in the challenges, but also someone who kind of like goes along to gets along, face a lot of hardships. I heard a couple of clips on her on podcasts talking about how she had a history with domestic violence, and she talked about how when she was in the Olympics, this guy made like a 17-minute video of just bagging on her body. And so she's dealt with a lot of like body image issues in her career as well. But I think that like, while she would have longevity, she would never be someone to be like on the forefront of plans. You know, she'd be someone to say like, yeah, you know what, I'm good at the relay. You know, I'll grab the baton, whatever you pass to me. But like, I'm not necessarily going to be the one to come up with the baton. And as a result, she might get left out of plans as a result.
Yeah, it's like she's getting advice probably from Liz. So that's pretty good. And like, do I think she's going to be masterminding the game? No, but I also don't think that that's like a big prerequisite to who I make my winner pick. So yeah, in like a perfect world, like she actually probably would have been up there. I had to go against type because I felt like I had to rule her out. But she actually is an influencer. She has 116,000 followers. That was the most that I saw. That she has 116,000 followers. She's like at beauty events, like she's an actual influencer, which is, compared to Titans v Rebels, I think quite interesting, because Titans v Rebels obviously had like TikTokers with like hundreds of thousands of followers, and they really went in that direction. And I haven't really seen that this season, so she's probably the most of that I've seen.
Yeah, but I don't think the way she comes across to me is not very influencery. She comes across to me as very down to earth, very conversational, and I think especially when she doesn't have kind of like other influencers to help feed that, I don't think she's going to be that type to be out there saying like, yeah, so when do the sponsors come in? Because I really want to show off those brand deals.
No. So I should have said more like she has a following probably from being an Olympian and has a platform from that, just more than anyone else. For her show, I was like, what's a really physical show? So I put on Wipeout.
Wipeout. I mean, she would be able to like run really fast through those obstacles.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
I did. Now maybe she'll be a bit of a challenge to Kaylin and Kristen. I also put her on The Amazing Race, both with her fiance or with another Olympic sprinter as well. That could be very fun. Because I also think as well, like
Liz. What about Liz?
Liz, like track and field, former survivors as well. Because Liz was pole vaulting, right? She wasn't track.
Yeah, but still, I feel like two very strong women. We have done very well casting a future Amazing Race. You are welcome, Amazing Race casting teams that are listening to this.
Again, the doors that George has opened.
Yeah, so those people, that would be, this whole cast could do it.
Speaking of doors that have opened, what's your welcome mat for her?
Run away.
Run away?
Yeah, go away, but run away.
If I were trying to exit my friend's house, exchange hugs and handshakes, I'm like, well, this was a great time. And I look down on the floor as I put my loafers on, and I see a mat that says, run away. I'm calling the authorities because I'm like pretty sure someone's hidden in their basement. Like something's being communicated to me.
It's because she's a runner.
I would say like, on your mark, get set, come in.
That's pretty good. I actually really love that. Yeah, that's great. Screw what I said. This is
yeah,
why
you could
we're
have
a
like
team.
little starting blocks like in the mat as well.
Yeah.
To take
I
off your
love
shoes,
that.
they could be like little shoe horns.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's so stupid. See, we're better at that than we'd be at the Amazing Race. We're a good team on that. Never say we don't have any talents. We have this one talent. Here's Nunan. I'm so excited to talk about Nunan. I can't
really
wait.
am. I really am as well. Listen, I mean, they may not know what time it is, but it's always noon in when we're talking about Nunan. Because, I mean, Shannon, you talk about maybe siblings or maybe not. I cannot think of many times when we have had two people with the same last name on the same tribe in Survivor history.
But the funny thing about it is because she's Laura, and there's another Laura on Brain. She went to Nunan, but there's another person with Nunan on this tribe. But even funnier than that, okay, this is Nunan. Obsessed with Nunan. Nunan's bio was so sad. It was so. I'm just gonna read it. I've actually just copied and pasted things verbatim. She said her dad is a horse trainer, mum is a costume designer. Her eldest brother is an actor. Another brother is a well-known teacher, and another is a jockey. She said, everyone knows my family, and then there's me. And nobody knows who I am unless you come down to the footy club. But day-to-day, people are shocked when I say, I'm Laura Nunan, and there's a fourth Nunan, not just the boys. I felt like I didn't contribute much to the family name and any function. People thought I was the hired help. Depressing. Anyway, but to blow past that, then she's like, I want to be the Nunan who does well on Survivor. And now there's another Nunan on the show. That might be the Nunan.
Which is incredible. Like, I am really, because this might be a bit of surprise, Shannon. I do have Nunan making the merge, and I am looking forward, not for her own mental health, but for her to be essentially the Meg Griffin of the Nunans, where it seems like every time she is being pushed out, whether it's like through her pins or the fact that, yeah, to your point, she's like, great, at least I'll be the only Nunan to play Survivor. And she's someone sleeping two people next to her in the shelter with the same last name.
Which is funny because the other one is Jesse, who I'm really high on. So, like, he literally might be the Nunan. It's gonna, like, I could genuinely see, like, if Nunan not Nunan, she's Nunan. If Jesse Nunan blindsides her, I genuinely think that it could bring up, like, a lot of seemingly, like, very real trauma. But no, I'm the Nunan. Like, I really think it could be a thing. Like,
well, here's the thing. This could all be a fantastic mind game from her because, like, if they write down Nunan, is this a bye-bye Denver Diva moment where, like, what if you're trying to vote Jesse off and you write down his last name? Do they have to clarify and therefore show their cards of like, no, actually, it's the girl Nunan, not the boy Nunan?
Yeah, I think that this has broken the game because it's kind of like if, like, there was another Wentworth.
Yes.
Dale Wentworth on second chances.
Yes.
So it's like she can't be Kelly because there's Kelly Wigglesworth. She's Wentworth. Oh, but there's another Wentworth. You can't vote for her. Both of the names are taken. Literally both. So she'll get to the end that way.
I also find it so fascinating that, again, her entire theme, which is so, sad to your point, is like, I'm the black sheep of my family, but she's forced to go by the name of said family that she feels she is living in the shadow of.
Do we think do we think that Jesse is one of the brothers? I see her eldest brother's an actor, and another brother's a well-known teacher, and another is a jockey.
I think it's more likely. I think it's more likely that
could be a jockey.
I think it's more likely that she's related to Max than she is to Jesse if he's the well-known teacher.
Well, I feel like Jesse has a lot of, like, things that he does. Like, we'll get to Jesse, but he'll, like, be playing the flute while on a surfboard. So he could be a jockey. I wouldn't be that surprised. It's like, why are you here? This is meant to be my thing. And, like, her brothers just showed up. That's incredibly entertaining.
I mean, that would be, like, the surprise Blood versus Water casting. This is straight out of old school Big Brother. Like, this is, in seasons past, they would cast exes on a season without them knowing the other one was on. They cast an entire half-brother, half-sister without knowing the other one existed. This would be now. It would be like
a half brother and half sister who didn't know they were half brothers and sisters.
Yes, so their father
unethical.
Their father had two different children, and in them, like they one person made the connection of like, oh, who's your father? Oh my god, that sounds familiar. And then the dad wrote a letter to be read by one of the people in the HOH room, being like, I'd like you to meet your sister.
But how do they do that on purpose? Like, if they don't even know that they're siblings, how did Big Brother know?
I have no freaking clue. It might have just been completely coincidental where like
How?
they both applied and they happened to do it. Or like
Impossible.
they were very recruit heavy back in those days. Again, the season beforehand, they had purposely cast pairs of X's to bring on together. So if anyone out there knows the story of Jennifer Nokomis Deadman and Michael Cowboy Ellis and want to remember how they got cast on a season together. And also he does vote her out at the final 4.
All of that is terrible, and I wish better for Nunan than for this. Like the fact that she literally, because it's so random that she's like, all I care about is being the Nunan who loves Survivor. That's my one thing. She says, I just want to be remembered as the one who loves Survivor, who's on Survivor. I want to be that Nunan, and then they cast another Nunan. It's so good. It's so mean. It's probably not on purpose, but it's my favorite thing of all time. It's so good.
So that being said, with Nunan, yes, I know. Look. It's the Brawn Tribe, and her lower third is footy fanatic. That her actual job is
that's not a job.
Well, what I will say though is it seems like it's more so that like she heavily participates in what seems to be intramural football. Not that she is just like a fan of it. So she actually is
she's
fairly
involved in like the local footy club. Well, no, I think what it is that her job is she's a learning support officer who helps students with learning disabilities, which is amazing. But they put her lower third.
Her and Candy would have something to connect over.
Yes. So like, what? No, her and Max, the teacher.
Well, also Candy's dyslexic. She's did you not just say she works at a job that supports children with learning disabilities?
Candy's not a child, and Candy has a literature degree.
But still, like, you could connect with somebody over, like, yes, I also deal with kids who have dyslexia.
Okay, fair enough. There's a lot of people she can connect with. Also, she has the same name as like 1/12 of the cast, which is incredible.
That's a fantastic. She has the same name as 1/12 of the cast of Australian Survivor.
She's gonna meet Jesse and be like, "What's your name?" And be like, "I'm Jesse Nunan." She's gonna be like, Nunan.
Nunan.
Yeah. So I think they made her job footy fanatic, even though she has a very respectable real job, because they wanted to shoehorn her into being a brawn. They wanted to shoe-brawn her. That's what's happening here on this.
You want to know the worst thing, Shannon? Her Instagram handle doesn't even have her full last name in it. She couldn't even get Laura Nunan as her Insta handle.
No, I want the best for her. I want this to be better.
Well. But God, this is such a good meme. Like, so good Lord, this is one of the most Job-like situations I've ever seen for a person on the show.
Literally, it's Meg, it's all of those things. I literally have here as a bullet point, never heard a sadder bio. So her thing is she's the one who's obsessed with Survivor. She says, I want to be remembered as the fun-loving, over-the-top girl obsessed with Survivor. Yes, Nunan, very good. And another thing I really like about her, a couple of years ago, she went to Tokyo Disney.
Okay, there we go.
She likes Disney.
I bet she was the only Nunan at Tokyo Disney.
Yeah, why doesn't she make that her thing? No, they all like have been to probably Tokyo Disney. The best of the Disneys, by the way. Hot take. I haven't been to the China one, but of all the others. I made her reality show Survivor because it kind of feels like her whole personality, and I respect that to my core.
Oh no, I put her on Claim to Fame. This is perfect Claim to Fame fodder, is it not?
Yes, it's perfection. Oh my God, yes, with any of her many, they're celebrities in the Mornington Peninsula. Like in their town, like everyone knows the Nunans, but not her. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, so listen, Claim to Fame Australia might be a bit of a smaller market to your point, but I think it would be so interesting if she's like, God damn it, the only reason I'm here is because of my family. I know I have to pretend like I'm, you know what, actually, it's great that I have to pretend that I don't know them at all. Screw the Nunans. I'm not related to the Nunans. Who cares about the Nunans?
Nunan. You put a post-merge. I have pre-merge question mark. I don't know. I just think for the meme, like, that has to happen, but, like, I don't want it to happen. Can you convince me why it's post-merge?
So I think because of her footy experience, I do think she will be, much like Kristen, one of these, like, surprisingly strong contenders in these 1-versus-1 battles. Like, I think she has the ability to scrap that will endear herself. And I think she knows the show well enough that she's not going to be this super fan that like immediately comes out of the gate exploding. Like, yes, she says she's over the top, but I feel like it's going to be more over the top in terms of personality and less so like maybe another person we'll talk about of like, oh my God, I got to start looking for idols and making alliances, et cetera, et cetera. She doesn't really strike me as that type of fan. And so I do think she's going to be able to lay low enough, and having a sense of fandom will at least give her some social cautions that she'll be able to utilize to be able to get her. I mean, also, she also is very job forward of like, this is what I do. I think it's very admirable as well and can help endear herself to other people, as I was mentioning with Candy.
All right, I'll put her post-merge. Come on, Noonan. You can
Come
do
on.
it.
You can
Come
do it,
on.
Nunan.
Please, give this story a happy ending. I'm going to put her post-merge. She's a fan, as you said. I think that'll help. For her welcome mat, because she went to Tokyo Disney, I just had BL guest. Really good Beauty and the Beast ride, but it actually wasn't open at Tokyo Disney when I went, but my brother said it was amazing. So...
Oh my god. I think you do something like a hand-me-down welcome mat where it's like the names of all the Noonans and it's crossed off like a library card.
She's the old Nun to them, you know, just an old
Old
Shunin. Old Shunin. Poor Noonan. Really a depressing bio. I really hope the best for her.
I'm really excited for her to face off with Jessie because we can call that High Noonan.
Right. Okay. Or Tunin.
Tune in, exactly. Tune in for Tune In.
Love that. So many things. Crazy that this has happened. Anyway, that was Noonan. This is the final woman of this tribe. This is Ursula. Ursula is a powerlifter and a fitness and nutrition coach. Her husband played the NRL, so she's an ex-WAG as well, which is another point of connection to was it Logan on the other tribe who's a WAG now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is Ursula. What do you think?
Yeah, so Ursula is another person that obviously is getting a lot of advertising because, again, she has one of the brawniest careers. She's Viola, right? She goes into the gym and lifts a bunch of weights as her job, as well as advising people. But what I think is interesting as well is that she is also a mother, besides perhaps being mother. I don't want to preemptively call her that on behalf of the Survivor fan base, but I feel like it's brewing a little bit. And I do feel like, now listen, she does caution that she has the tendency to be blunt sometimes and be a little honest, that she would rather value honesty and that she might be someone who plays too hard, considering that she jokes the easiest part of the game will be stabbing people in the back. But I do think she is someone that's going to be able to like command a strong group around her for a considerable amount of time. But I could also see her getting clipped like as soon as that merge hits, where it's like she is way too big of a presence in the game, like giving me a lot of Sam Gash vibes. Of like someone who is very outspoken, draws a lot onto herself. I think she's someone that will not be afraid to vocalize things, which will only draw even more attention onto her. And her physicality will also obviously speak for itself.
I mean, yeah, there's some red flags in saying that she's maybe too honest, sometimes too honest. That gets her into trouble, but it's what she prefers. If people can't handle it, that's not my problem. But it is on Survivor, right?
Like then, problem, yeah.
It actually becomes your problem. So I had to put her pre-merge.
Ooh.
Everyone for me is pre-merge. And usually Ursula would be like the perfect bait. As you said, like I chose Viola last season. Actually didn't go so well, but I stand by the pick, okay? She could have been a good pick.
I mean, listen, it was a little bit of an odd situation where like she kind of got screwed because of her association with Mark and the swap and everything like that.
It was fine. It was a fine pick. But Ursula has a lot of the things that I think she's a good age for this cast. She's like 35, I think.
36.
Okay, great. She's a mother of 2 kids, which is great for this tribe. She's super physical, super strong, but I think maybe some of that, well, she's not going to go early because she's super strong, but like, then I think maybe even all these big guys are getting taken out in the middle, and that's like the parabolic woman of it all, although she's one end of the parabola for me because I think she can't go early, which is great. But then she can go early if she's pissing people off more than like they need the strength that she's bringing. Like I would have made her a possible winner pick, maybe post-merge, but then she's like, I'm honest and I don't care what people think. It's like, you have to care what people think. It's a game of people. So
now again, this could be another Kirby situation where she like comes in with that attitude and then Kirby's it's like, oh, I could lie. Great. All right. This is totally fine. Like she has the capacity to stab people in the back. The issue will be cleaning up from the mess. It will be like, if and when she starts cutting throats and like people come to her the night of being like, why'd you leave me out of that boat? She's like, I don't care. I didn't need you. Get over it. Move on to the next day. Like that's something that I think is going to be kind of death by 1,000 cuts, where eventually it will lead to this antipathy against her that will take her out. I just don't know if she does go pre-merge. I think she would go like in that second half of the pre-merge, right? Like I don't know if it would be the swap period, but it would be eventually things hit a boiling point where even her closest allies are like, she is too much to keep around right now. We have to get rid of her.
Yeah, I just think that I have to have some red flags around someone who's telling me that they'll just like piss people off to their face. Like I think that to me is an issue. She has a dry sense of humor, so that's I like that. I just couldn't get past that honesty part. But yeah, she's been in a lot of the content around like the strength of brawn, kind of, thing that they're doing there, where she's like the perfect archetype as obviously a power lifter. As such, I made her welcome mat lift off.
And maybe Kristen could sneak that mat as well if she wants to.
Yeah, there's a lot that were pretty similar. Take off, lift off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even though I forgot the word for take off. And then for her reality show, I put her as a coach on The Biggest Loser. I don't think they do that show anymore. I feel like it's
like a Jillian Michaels. Yeah, because she's also a nutrition coach.
Well, it was Michelle Bridges here, I think, and then Michelle Bridges was married to. He was on Survivor.
Oh yes, Steve.
Survivor. Yes.
Commando.
You. What's happening? Yeah. Yes. Wait, was he on Biggest Loser or was she?
I think he was.
Maybe they both were.
I imagine that. I know he was at least.
He was as well. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because he was one of the pieces of celebrity casting. Remember, we made the joke about him being the cardboard cutout because it kind of had the personality of that.
Yeah, 7th placed reality / athletes on those seasons who got revolving doored out the game on a twist was like not a great archetype for the show.
Him and Simon Black back to black.
Yeah, it was so similar. It was crazy.
Yeah,
I did remember his name. I remembered his name.
So I do think that Ursula obviously has a bit of a bigger personality than that, but I am excited for her because I do think if we're talking about possible players on this Brawn Tribe who could like hit the ground running, like there could be very big like Nathan vibes from Ursula as well, right? Of like, well, I know I'm definitely going to be safe because I'm the brawniest here. So let me get what I want done. And then especially in the wake of Titans versus Rebels, if some of these people watched last season, they'd be like, oh, we don't need to follow their orders. We can just vote them off if we want to. We're brawny enough.
Yeah, I do think as well, you would say they don't need all the brawn because they're so brawny anyway, so they can afford to lose brawn, but then like the Brains Tribe is so strong.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it might end up working full circle where like they might need to pride tribe strength above, especially if they lose a couple challenges. They're like, shit, we're getting crushed here. And we're supposed to be the Brawn Tribe? All right, let's go back to basics.
I also think as well, though, we assume like she's a powerlifter, but she's probably fit across the board, right? Because like that will help with one type of challenge. They do a lot. Wrestling as well, a few types of challenge, but I think that she could also probably do like any challenge.
I mean, what I am interested in is obviously she would have knowledge about calories, being, a bit of a dietitian and nutrition coach, but I would also imagine her body fat percentage is not very high. And so that might really come into handy as these days winnow on and she's like starving off of nothing with her body.
They really love the powerlifter archetype on Australian Survivor. Like, has US Survivor ever had a powerlifter? I think we've had very many on not
as a career. No, like certainly people have been able to do
it. Sydney.
Oh yeah, well Sydney was a power lifter, you're right.
Yeah. I can't think of another one. Did you have a post-merge or pre-merge? What was her reality?
I had her post-merge.
Okay. And what was
I had her post-merge, but like just making it over there. Like the 12th place or even like 13th, 14th place. Exactly. I talked about the Lydia Lucilla upside before.
Yeah. And then what show?
I had her on the challenge.
Okay. Yeah, the challenge is always a good one. I forget that. That's why I do Wipeout for physical shows, because I forget about the challenge.
That's your challenge.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the men. This is Ben. And Ben is a stonemason. Oh, Ben's the one who has a really good welcome mat. Now I remember. I'm excited about it. Should I just say what it is now?
Yeah,
well, Ben's a stonemason.
Mm-hmm.
And his welcome mat is "This house rocks."
Oh, but also it's not a welcome mat. It's a stone. And it's like chiseled.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's chiseled. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, much like his abs, because Ben. So yeah, you would imagine like due to his career, he's got kind of like that blue collar burliness from working hauling rocks on a day-to-day basis. But no, like if you look at his Instagram, he does a lot of boxing. Like dude is freaking jacked. So he has a lot of physique to him. I mean, listen, Shannon. Can I just say this might be a little bit out of left field. I think Ben's my winner pick.
Oh, I actually see it. I thought you were going to say something about his looks, and I would have seen it too. I want to say, firstly, rock welcome mat. Huge tripping hazard. Horrible idea in general.
But weather resistant. You don't need to worry about rain and like it getting all moldy. Like it'll just slough right off.
It has no utility and is literally only a hindrance to getting into the house.
It's much easier to wipe your feet on a rock than it is a mat.
Could it be a flat rock?
Oh, of course it's gonna be a flat rock.
Oh, I thought you meant like a big like boulder.
No,
and I
it's
was
just
like,
gonna be a
people-
round stone.
That's what I thought you meant, and I was like, people will
No.
trip.
Well, that's what he does with the stones that you lay in a path to get to the house. That's what I was thinking.
Do you know what I think is really funny is that I'm like, yeah, my OCD doesn't manifest on the podcast, but then I'm like, what type of rock specifically? I just don't think about it in the moment. I apologize. I can't control this. So yeah, Ben, he's a dad of 3, which is great. Lots of parents. He's very physical. We like on his Insta. I think this was on the bio or his Instagram or both, like fishing, boxing. He says he's wanted to be on Survivor for 25 years. He's a really good Winnipeg, actually. So obviously a big fan. He's good. He's a good pick. He's an all-rounder. But
Yeah,
is he just like too obvious?
I don't think so. That's the thing is like, I don't know that he would be someone to necessarily stick out as like, oh my God, you're so good at everything. Especially compared to like when you have freaking Kaylin on the board or some of these other people whose physicality kind of precedes itself. Like, I also think, again, not to stereotype too much, but like Ben is this blue collar guy. And I think that does endear himself to a lot of people of like, well, he's just kind of a good old boy, right? Who like isn't exactly in his head about all the great things that he gets to do. He's just someone that lays down his stones, goes home to his 3 teenagers, and is able to live his life on a day-to-day prospects. I think that could get him in really well with a lot of people to the point where he could, start wailing on these opponents if need be. I do like the fact that he has at least been watching the show for 25 years. I think that gives him a residual understanding of the game. Hell, Shannon, this might be a bit of a deep cut, whether he realizes it or not. His Instagram bio says "livin" in it, in all caps.
Do you think that it's a Cody reference?
Maybe he just embodies the same lifestyle. And look, Cody, were it not for, one of the most brutal moves in Survivor history, could have stood a very fair chance of winning the game.
I feel like he reminds me of Ben.
Yeah, I mean,
More.
he definitely has like the look of a Ben Driebergen.
Yeah, exactly. So that went well.
I will also say, in terms of individual challenges, something that I found very interesting is that Ben is actually like a licensed breathing coach as well.
Oh.
And we saw this with Danny in Survivor 44, and he was someone that was actually really good in a couple of those endurance challenges by like being able to utilize his breath work. Now, look, I don't know if he'll necessarily be as much of a goofball in a character as Danny was, but I think this is actually like a surprisingly good physical tool to have in the chest.
I know that David Jennett on our podcast and our deep dive after all, I think maybe it was after 2019, was talking about the work he'd done in that for a lot of the drowning challenges that Australian survivors want to do. So
yeah, he's gonna kill last gasp and hopefully not die in it.
Exactly. So that could be good, and maybe people wouldn't expect him to be like as good at challenges like that. I do think my issue was that he is such a clear threat, but then again, there's a lot of clear threats. Like, and I think that maybe he doesn't stand out as much just because there's like so many strong people on this like Brawn V Brawn season.
You talk about, Morgan being friends with Liz, but Ben had another Heroes v Villains finalist in his comments. None other than Jerry.
I thought you were saying Matt.
Sending some comments being like, hey, Ben, let's get together. Because he's is Jerry also from the Sunshine Coast? Or he was like oversees that area? Yeah. Ben's from the Sunshine Coast.
Right. But it doesn't sound like they're friends. It sounds like maybe he's ghosting Jerry.
I don't know. It seems like they were friendly. I would be so intrigued on if Ben reached out to Jerry of all people preseason, be like, Jerry, what advice can you give me about how to play Survivor?
Well, you know what they say about Ben and Jerry? It just goes together. I think
exactly.
I don't know that are they the Amazing Race partnership that we thought Liz and Morgan could be? I'm not super sure, but I'd like to see it. I guess if we're having to populate an Amazing Race with pretty much just this entire cast.
I will say for show, this was an easy slam dunk for me. Tough as nails. Like, I'm pretty sure we've had a Stonemason actually on the show, or at least a Cement Mason, so this would be perfect for him.
Your shows are way better than mine. I did Blown Away. It was a glass blowing show.
Oh, yes, hosted by Nick Uhas of Big Brother fame.
There's so much Big Brother lore that sounds fake. I sent it to my aunt because my aunt works in like pottery and glass blowing. And so but I don't think that's similar to being a stonemason, but I Googled stonemason reality TV show and I came up short and I just went with that.
Or you could put them on like Extreme Makeover Home Edition alongside When.
Yeah, that's good. Be like or The Block or something.
Is The Block like, I thought that was just they talk about shows, not that they actually do home renovation.
What do you think The Block is?
Isn't that the show where they watch TV and comment on TV, or am I thinking of something different?
No, you're thinking of, why can't I think of anything right now? What? They're thinking of Gogglebox.
Oh, Gogglebox.
The block is where they make houses. They may make and flip like an apartment.
All right, so maybe he'll be able to do that.
We should do Gogglebox. That's the reality show for
Yeah.
you and me. If
Aren't we just doing Gogglebox?
Pretty
Haven't we
much.
been doing Gogglebox for the better part of
Yeah.
10 years of my life?
Yes, very, very much. But yeah, so the block, I'm going to change to the block. I think he'd be good on the block. He says, I'm a bit of a master investigator. We've got a real problem with chocolate thieves in our house. So it's a bit of a game in my house to find out who took it. I interrogate the kids and always get the answers. I just imagine one of the children with just like chocolate all over their face.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
you. I didn't do it. That's Homer, like
but
Homer
my
with the
keen
sour
powers
ball.
but my keen powers of deduction, the one with all the chocolate on his face and in his mouth. Post-merge for sure. He may go in that 9 to 10 spot. But also, I think did you say he was your winner pick?
I think he's going to be my winner pick. I was between a few. I talked about like Max and Logan over on the other tribe, but I don't know. I just got so many good things, so many green flags on this green flag filled tribe from Ben.
I see that.
And I just feel like, to me, he does not stand out as like such an immediate perfect candidate to everybody, that I do think he could slip under the radar for some time and just be able to strike when the iron or stone is hot.
All right. Well, I agree. I want to get to Jesse, the other Nunan, the Tunin, but probably Nunan is the Tunin, and Jesse just gets to be the Nunan. Let's be honest.
What about Nunan? Like, was it like Noone? Like, put one in Nunan instead of Tunin.
That's no one.
Ah! She went from Nunan to no one.
Poor Nunan, but also this Nunan. So Jesse Nunan, the other Nunan, is probably my winner pick.
Wow. All right. Back-to-back winner picks here.
Yeah, I think firstly, this is my first male winner pick since Jericho, which, to be fair, went very well for me.
You went out on top.
On Australian Survivor, I should clarify. I try to go for, again, parabolic women on Australian Survivor, and I would have gone for Morgan, okay, if not for the redacted things spoken about previously in this podcast. So why Jesse Nunan? He just spoke to me. Like, he seems really fun. He's a pro skater. They say a recorder playing Wild Child. He plays the flute.
Yeah, so there's like, he does this, I don't know if it's a bit or like his gimmick where like he'll skateboard and play the recorder. And yes, like the instrument that every fourth grader learns to play with the shrillness of the worst bird you've ever heard in your life. Like, that seems to be the thing that he's known for. Yeah,
and he's doing it like one-handed on surfboards, as we said. Like, that's why I believe he could be Noonan's jockey brother. He's a jack of all trades.
That's not a direct pipeline. Surely,
so.
If you surf playing the recorder, you can ride a horse.
I can imagine him standing on a horse playing the recorder based on the content I watched.
You know what they say? A horse is just a hairy surfboard.
You know what they say? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't play a flute on it.
Put that on a welcome mat.
Oh, I don't think that I have a welcome mat for him. Where's my welcome mat? I'm going to have to come up with it on the...
I mean, that could also be a good wheels up for his skateboarding.
I think that's maybe what I did. Oh, no, here it is. It's skate to see you. Or let the good times roll.
And then on the way out, is it see you skater?
See you skater, yeah. I mean, they have to just flip it. I love this. You have to flip things when
I also love this idea that we have really increased our profit share 100% by being like, no, it's a package deal. You also have to buy the mat in which
I thought it was
reversible.
I thought you could just flip it.
No, because then we came up with the idea at the end of one at the front door and one at the back door for when you leave.
And then we started off with us having one when you're home and one when you're not, like when you're in a hotel room.
Yes, exactly. Like, don't come in. And also, not see you skater. It's got to be later skater.
Yeah, that's fine. But it's skate to see you. Let the good times roll was meh. Anyway, I told you they're not all winners, okay? We can't all be winners. We're not all Jesse, who's my winner pick. Jesse's got a lot going for him, right? So firstly, family man with his second baby on the way. Works for what we're doing here. Maybe Morgan is literally
much like a brother of Jesse long ago has that baby storyline.
Yes. So people like that. That's the first thing. He runs his own skateboarding business that teaches people of all abilities and disabilities how to skate. That's a big passion and focus of ours, he says, to make skateboarding inclusive and accessible for everyone. He could bond with the other Nunan about this, working with people with some disabilities. Love that anyway.
They're gonna leave this season thinking like there's at least a 20% chance they're related. Like, they're going to say, can I request, as soon as I'm getting voted out, I want a chocolate bar and I want a 23andMe test to figure out if I'm related to this man.
Imagine, finding out that. Well, you said on Big Brother that's
That
how it
happened on Big
happened.
Brother.
This
This
is insane.
is
That
not zero
didn't.
chance
You're
it's going to
lying.
happen.
Tell me it was a lie.
This could be the Nokomis cowboy of Australian Survivor.
No, it didn't happen. You're Jiminy Joeing me right now.
No, it seriously did. Look it up. The man dressed in a lime costume. It was very mortifying.
Send me a clip after this.
I will. I'll send you a clip.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, he says he's smarter than people think. He has a house, a business, a family.
I'm smarter than people think I am. I have a house.
A house for a welcome mat. No, but it's true. He's like, I have a good life. I've built success for myself. Look, really having a house in this market in 2025 is tough.
Honestly,
okay?
yeah.
So that is an achievement.
He does have a 30. Also, like, again, it's not Morgan numbers. He does have 33,000 Instagram followers,
which for this cast is good, and in other casts is nothing. But yeah, he's some of the biggest platform, and I liked his content. It was like funny. It was like ASMR parody skate videos, and like again like one-handed flute playing on horses, kind of, but surfboards. He really spoke to me.
He's such a big character. Let me read an excerpt from an interview he did in the Skateboarders Journal, where one time he went pro, and I think he was sort of like adopted into like this Santa Cruz brand, which is a big deal. He was asked, "You literally just turned pro a few minutes ago. Apart from being covered in beer, blood, and other assorted bodily fluids, how do you feel?" And Jesse replies, "It's hard to explain, but the best I can put it is like when a giraffe has a baby."
Right. That makes sense.
So his analogies are going to be on point at Tribal Council.
Yeah. Well, that aside, no red flags. Other than he's not the type of winner pick that I pick. But I had to go with my gut. Because I felt bad about most of the people on the cast making the merge, and I put them all pre-merge.
You said, well, one Nunan rises, another one must fall, and so the other Nunan must be spurned because of it. But I went the opposite. I did have Jesse as a bit of a surprise pre-merge boot. So I think he's such a great personality.
Where?
The only thing I could see is that because he is somebody that puts his personality out there, and like again, this is a guy that like will just roll his way into, all of these, crazy air-defying tricks and say like, if I trip and fall, it's fine. I could see him get a little bit of big move-itis and be like, I gotta take this. Here, let's try this pop shove it of I'm gonna take this person out. And then it's like, oh, do you see what Jesse's doing? Wait a minute. That goofball recording playing Jesse is trying to take me out? No, Jesse. You're about to wipe out majorly.
True, but also he should be in Wipeout. That's his show.
He's used to it.
Yeah. I don't think I gave him a show, but that was it.
I put him on Big Brother because I feel like this is a concept. Like when Bowie Jane, right, a fellow Australian resident, was like, I'm a DJ, but I'm also a lawyer. People love this like career concept that they sometimes bring in. Joseph from last season, he works at one of the last remaining video stores. So to have like, I'm a professional skateboarder, but I also play the recorder is such a great gimmick to get you in the door of any reality show. And I think Big Brother is perfect. And I think he would be sort of like a Tucker type that would try to consistently keep a level of entertainment on the show.
Yeah, I think it either works or it doesn't. And it works for what I saw of him. Now, is he a fan? That's my question mark. But again, I don't know how much it matters. But I don't know how much he knows about the show.
I love the shirt.
I can see why he was cast.
Yeah.
You love the shirt?
I love the shirt. Well, he was also cast because he may have a relative on it that they're trying to reveal.
Exactly. That's gonna be the twist of the season.
They cast Nunan first, and they're like, are there any other Nunans in the area?
Yeah. Well,
is that Nunans in your area? It looks like it's a dragon eating the sun, or associating with it at least.
I want it to be the brother that she doesn't want to be there. I want it to be the jockey brother.
If this is a jockey brother, I feel like horse racing has gone in a very different direction from what I remember.
We are the jockeys are we. I really actually love that Simpsons episode. I know that's a hot take, but it's like
unironically, you love it?
Yeah, I really do. I know people hate that episode. It has my favorite line in Simpsons history.
Which is what?
Ironically, based on a previous reference in this podcast, that horse better win or we're taking a trip to the glue factory. And he doesn't get to come. Yeah, it's a great tour, but you can't see it all in one day.
Incredible. Oh, yeah, they wouldn't be able to see Candy Model for the glue store.
Exactly. It's a good episode, okay? I know that people don't like it. This is Nash. Nash is a salesman with 2 kids. This Nash has been a big part of the content in the
All right,
ads,
so
which maybe as
let's just
well. This is
let's
like
do
a
this blanket statement. We are going to get into something that is explicitly shown on promos for Australian Survivor. It's going to be incorporated into our
at least
discussion.
it's clearly early.
Is that momentous? So I would say if you do not wish to know anything, and look, if you're new to Australian Survivor, you may not want to follow a lot of the official social media pages because they love to spoil things. There was quite literally an Australian Survivor All-Stars ad where they said, one of these 5 people will go home in the next episode. Can you guess who it is? Like, they are not exactly tiptoeing around spoilers the most, but hopefully I have talked enough to get all the looky-loos to turn away for the next 5 minutes, because Shannon, there was some like out of context quotes early in the preseason about like when so-and-so found an idol 5 minutes into the game, it changed everything. And it has been explicitly shown in recent coverage. That is Nash.
Yes. He finds the idol in the first few minutes and then is like wearing it around camp. So that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, obviously, the biggest comparison is Russell, right? It's a kind of a combination of
George.
Yeah, or George as well. But like, Russell not only finding an idol early, but obviously an Australian Survivor, wearing it around his neck and then getting voted out with it. I mean, it's really going to become a case of, does Nash start looking for the idol because he feels in danger, or does Nash start looking for the idol and then becomes in danger? Because there's some clips of like, poor Nunan being like, yeah, you just love spreading chaos, don't you? And like, people are very clearly uncomfortable with him early on. And so, yeah, if you're looking for that person, you're George or you're Ferris, like someone who is very vocal early on that draws a lot of eyes onto them, that's Nash, it seems.
Yeah, it seems like, so I think he knows Ferris in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't pre-merged because I'm like, this doesn't feel like a 2-day game, let alone a 47-day game. And like, to be fair, George and Ferris both make it very, very far.
So that's why I have him making the merge, because I'm like, there's always
unicorns.
one.
They're unicorns, though.
But this is what happens, Shannon, is that he is guaranteed safe at his first tribal council, assumingly what the rules of this idol are. And then he might become a target for the next one. But by the time a couple of other days roll around, there's been more discussion and other names are being thrown out. I do not think Nash will be out of the limelight. I do not think that is just him as a person, but I could very much see a scenario. Now, look, George in Brains versus Brawn was also very interesting in that, like, he technically had to get saved by an idol in the pre-merge as well. Like, he was gone at that tribal council where Kara ended up getting swapped over, were it not for what she decided to do. But I could very much see a situation where, like, as soon as he has that idol around his neck, they're like, Nash has to go. The dirty weasel. Look what he's doing underneath our noses. But then as the time wears on, people are thinking, okay, well, listen, Nash has some problems and he's a schemer. But what about this person? We can always take care of Nash. But what about this person right now? And then before you know it, Nash somehow finds his way into the merge.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it's Occam's razor says no, but like, it is something that can and has happened multiple times. Again, George was out the door to Brawn, which is what would have happened. Ferris is different. Like, Ferris wasn't really like that. Like we always said, like, they always thought that Ferris was so, suspicious, and he wasn't doing anything actually to do that. Like, he just was like a fun personality, but he wasn't doing stuff like this. So I think it's really tough. What makes Nash a Brawn? He's been shoe-brawned too. He's a salesman. What is there anything
he says his confidence is the brawniest thing about him.
That is so shoe-brawned, it's crazy. That is not anything. That's not Brawn. No.
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, for what it's worth, I don't know if this is the same Nash, but like, I looked at him on LinkedIn and he looks completely different. And he does look to be like he's a runner in those pictures. So like, maybe he has a brawny history, but yeah, when you have to say,
is it like a different human being, or is it just like Nash?
To be honest, Shannon, it kind of looks like it. Maybe
it just is.
Maybe he will find his Nash equilibrium and find his footing out there on the island.
I love that. But some person who may be Nash is a runner. That's where we're at. That's the research that you did.
Someone that has the same name as Nash and is from Australia and also works in sales.
Look, some people just have the same name as other people, okay? Have we not seen that today?
Yeah,
Sometimes
so
names can be shared.
another big red flag, Nash says, admitting he loves to stir the pot, something his wife knows a lot about. Nash is also very open about his vulnerability and how he wears his heart on his sleeve. I could see something where, like, he absolutely steps in it and then, like, breaks down afterwards emotionally, which, like, might endear himself to them. Or they all might also be like, this guy's an absolute disaster. Why is he crying after we found him flaunting the idol he's wearing around his neck?
Yeah, the combination of wanting to stir the pot and being emotional. It sounds like a lot to handle. I've put in pre-merge. I've made his welcome mat. Welcome to Nashville. Thank you for laughing when they're bad. I appreciate it. And for the reality show, I put him on the House of Villains. I feel like it's that kind of like fair play, Russell, George, kind of pathway that he's trying to get to.
I put him on Shark Tank. I think if he worked in real estate, I think he'd be perfect on like a Selling Sunset of like, oh, I'm gonna, get the sale no matter what I need. I feel like you could also do an exit mat of you nashed it.
You what?
Like smashed it.
No.
You nashed it. Come on. Listen, depending on how he flames out, Nash might become a verb in and of itself. Like, wow, you really nashed it there.
I love that. I think we should do that. I think that's great. All right, this is Paulie. Paulie, yeah. Paulie the paramedic.
Paulie the paramedic. And Shannon, Paulie kind of did our job for us because I don't know if you saw this. He has been on another reality show.
Let me see my notes. Yes. It's the first post on his Instagram. I saw it.
Yeah, he's on a show called Ambulance Australia, also airing on Channel 10. Is this a network crossover? Was it in his contract?
Well, it makes sense because like even Viola last time was on, I think the one where they adopt dogs. She was like working at the reality show about them
adopting dogs. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's what she. So I think they're like, who else is on the network? Right, that Khan was on MasterChef.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So there's always got to be one.
I have no recall today at all. Like I can't remember the names of things. I'm sorry. It's a show. Paulie on Instagram is at Paulie Balls. He interesting. You know how there's like a bit of a Taylor Swift thing happening on the other tribe? Mm-hmm. One of his posts had a Taylor Swift lyric. Fan. I couldn't see him at the Eras tour, but a lot of fans couldn't get tickets. It was a jungle out there.
Exactly. Paulie, so his physicality, I think, is the biggest thing I got from it. Apparently, he's a CrossFitter. He is incredibly ripped. There's even footage on his Instagram of like he took a year-long, essentially like swimming, not expedition, but like kind of sojourn, and is just absolutely glides through the water. I think he might be one of the best overall challenge performers on Brawn, which I think is going to put him in a very good spot. I do have him making the post-merge, but I really don't have a lot about his personality. I mean, I guess he'll be used to the cameras, but that's in a very different scenario. Yes, it does capture him on the job, but like he's well fed. He's, in a situation that he's incredibly comfortable with.
Well,
so, I mean, what I'm worried about as well is there's also a little bit of meta where, and Paulie might not worry about this, but if I was on another show where the show was about me saving lives, do I want to necessarily carry the reputation of like, I backstabbed all of these people, but also on this other show, I'm a good person who's able to treat people in need? I think for some people, they might be able to hold that dichotomy. I don't know, especially considering it's on the same network, if Paulie will necessarily want to mix those streams.
I think Paulie will be okay with it because I think that sounds like annoying. That sounds like, really like high and mighty, like, well, I can't backstab and like all of that like sanctimony that I don't think Paulie seems to have. He seems really fun and quirky. And my biggest issue is that like it seems like a very like kind of cast that's really comfortable out like camping or in the country. He says he slept on the beach a few times, but is a city boy. Like that reminds me just like of the kid in the White Lotus. Like maybe there's not enough there. So
what, like he's gonna wake up and his bed's being washed out to sea?
Yeah, that's kind of what like slept on the beach, but like at a resort, that's my biggest issue. But he seems really fun. He won $10,000 in a radio contest. Like this guy's just having a good time. Like I think that he will be fine playing the game, backstabbing. I think someone else might be like, I'm a paramedic. That doesn't seem like at Paulie Balls.
I guess that's very true. Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough. Like I don't think his personality sticks out as much as like someone like Max, but I do feel like him and Max are kind of like two sides of the same coin as well. And that like, I think they're both going to be very fun personalities, and Paulie might surprise me. I just don't think I got a killer instinct from him. I got a, like, he'll do very well at certain aspects of the game, but I don't necessarily see him as someone who would step forward as that power player towards the end game. But again, to your earlier point, that's sometimes it's not necessarily what you need to do to win Australian Survivor.
Well, he says he's a Survivor fan and Simon is his favorite. I don't know what that says. I do love Simon.
I mean,
Is
he
that like
loves
more of,
that
like,
one scene with him and Jordy that goes viral every like 6 months or so.
was it like the physical aspect, or yeah, I mean, I don't know what, or maybe just the fact that Simon is great. I assume he doesn't
Yeah.
want to follow in the Cookie Idol footsteps, but yeah, I mean, I think he's really, really fun. By the way, it was the doghouse that was just for the people yelling in their car. That was the show Viola was on.
Well, if they're yelling in their car, they might need a paramedic to come help them, in which case Paulie's on the case.
God forbid. God forbid. I think, look, yeah, he does have an incredible profession. It's brawny. He's fit. He seems fun. And it's not even just like Max. I also feel like Jesse. Like there's some like
Yeah.
the like very out there guys that I think this cast has. AJ, I think he kind of fits in with all of that. So I'm putting him post-merge. And I made his welcome mat having a ball because it's at Paulie Balls. And I made his reality show Ambulance Australia because he's on it.
I was gonna say it's pretty much a shoe, and I did put him on the Traders just because, on the Traders UK, it's unfortunate. Like there was one contestant this past season who, because he was a doctor, everyone tried to metagame it and say like, oh, the producers would make a doctor a traitor, so we have to get rid of you. So like, unfortunately, I think he would be undone there. I think
you're putting him to lose on the Traders.
But like someone that would be someone that they would put on there from like trying to bring together people from different walks of life. I think, could you have a welcome mat that says who's ready for 9-1 fun? But there's no 911
fun.
Yeah, there's no.
But it's not
911 in Australia, right? What is it?
It's 000.
Ooh, it should just say ooh. It's 000.
No, I don't think. No, I don't think that. No, I mean, 9-1 fun seems like you're dismissing something very important, and that's not even our number. And then, ooh, isn't a great mat. Like you'd have to explain it every time.
Imagine walking to your friend's house and you look down and all it says is ooh. You're gonna think it's haunted. You're gonna think a ghost lives there.
Yeah. Not a lot of good stuff there. I thought having a ball.
Yeah, I suppose so. Like, again, there's not much to go off of with Paulie besides the fact that he's really fit and he drives an ambulance.
He seems fun. He likes Taylor Swift. He's in that alliance. I'm telling you, it's happening. All right. This is PD.
Yes, so this is Paul D, but he's going
by Paul?
PD. He's Paul as well, yes.
What is happening?
So there's a Paul and a Paulie. There's Paulie and there's Paul D, who goes by PD.
The crazy thing is that, so we know that it's a thing where sometimes you want to vote out the person with your name so that you can just take back your name, like Boston Rob did with Rob, or it happens often. So do you think that's going to be a big thing? Yeah, Laura's sharing it with 2 people now, 2 different Paul E variants.
Well, I think is that why PD already came in? Maybe he had done some research or overheard a handler being like, come on, Paulie. He's like, oh no, I have to go by my name. But now everyone's going to assume he's a police officer because he's PD now.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that who gives up their name? You know, like, how is that decided? Producer comes and is like, you can't go by your name. Like, I'm not gonna, like, I'm sorry, if I went there and they were to say, there's another Shannon, you're SG now, I don't think that, like,
I mean, I would imagine it was not done against his will. Like, there's a good chance that, he has a history in the NPL. Maybe they just called him like PD as a nickname. He's like, yeah, you could call me that. It's fine. People know him as PD anyway.
This is your whole platform now, like forever, like on Survivor.
Well, I think that's the good news, though, is that like if you really sully your reputation, legally, his name is not PD.
Some plausible deniability. Maybe that's what PD stands for. I don't even know if that works, but
PD stands for please deny. If you ask me about anything I did out there.
Yeah. I didn't realize his name was Paul. That's crazy. Well, he's an NPL coach and former player. He represented Australia. He's been a coach for 10 years. Okay, I need to ask. This is what he said, and I have a question. He said, I've always got plan A and plan B. Now, plan A is our game plan, but plan B is to do plan A even better, so we aren't going to lose. Why not just start with plan B if it's just better plan A?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the flow chart is on this of like, well, we didn't try this one, but I think we could try it again, but better.
Well, start better. Start at your best, I think. But I mean, I can't question it because they're coming off the premiership, so he knows what he's doing. But
and
like,
that's
I am
the
questioning.
sports terminology, right? It's the give 110% of it all, which is like, it doesn't work out mathematically, but go in with everything. And maybe PD is also going the thing of like, don't ditch the plan. If it feels like a good plan, just try it again, but with more effort, it'll work eventually.
Yeah, just keep.
Which feels like a very Simon Me type of thing.
And they do say the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing. So just, I don't know. I'm not the coach. PD, you do you, but I just had some questions. So he said he's sad to leave his family and his dog. He'll miss the dog the most. Now I really obviously credit that as someone who would miss my cats way more than any stupid person in my life. Yeah, he references Haley and Kirby, which I thought were kind of two interesting references for someone of this archetype. I put him as, I say, have you post-merge? Don't see why not, question mark.
Yeah, I only threw him in as pre-merge because I just wanted to balance it out. I think I did 5 and 7 for the other tribes, so I wanted to do 5 and 7. I'm like, sure, this could be an instance where, like, I don't know, this is very much manifesting an outcome, but like, he could be twist screwed, maybe. Like, I could see him. I don't know. I'm not sure, Shannon. He seems fine. He seems like a fine enough guy. He's a former athlete turned coach. He has the ability to lead people, which he might do. We talked about how Ken might not be able to help himself over on Brains. Maybe the fellow bald guy here in PD will take over on the Brawn Tribe, which could work for or against him. But I don't know. I just had a feeling from a personality perspective that he actually might go the route of like the aforementioned Simon Black or like a David Zaharakis of like, goes along to gets along, but like is not exactly at really the forefront of everything. We talked about this before in Australian Survivor. You get the edit when you are doing things, and when you are not, you are not. And so it might be a case where it's 3 weeks in and we're like, remember this guy Petey? What's he doing? Why is he around here? And then like all of a sudden, like some random thing happens and Petey's the one that gets sent out of all people.
Well, that was what makes him perfect to be post-merge, because I feel like that person usually comes 7th. And yeah I think I just can't imagine why he would go early. I just feel like
for me, it was purely ratio. It really wasn't any red flags.
I love that you're counting,
or red cards.
because you're like really keeping track of this, and I'm not. And I really want the listeners to tell me after what I did, because I'm pretty sure it's like
Rob's fact checker will keep you in check.
Probably. I'm interested to see how it pans out.
Yeah, I know Shannon, you're speaking to a really late merge here this season.
Yeah, they're gonna merge like at the final 7. I know I said I'd go back and then maybe like switch around people, like maybe like put more of the brains in now that I'd seen everyone, but I just can't be bothered. So now everyone's just pre-merge. It just is what it is.
What is interesting is that he does work during the day as a salesman for a brewery. I wonder if and this is the case with Nash as well, even though Nash does not have an alternate career, but like, which side will PD lean into? Because there is something about sales, but could it be buffered by the fact that there is another salesman on the tribe?
And you know what they say about salespeople?
What?
Cody, aforementioned.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Very true.
He said they were evil, and he was also
maybe Ben will channel his fellow live-in brother and be like, those salespeople got to go.
Yeah. So I put him post-merge. I made him the coach in a series called Football Superstar, which we apparently had here in 2008, which was like a soccer show.
It is interesting that they put in, they wrote in his bio, like, he was a salesman for a brewery by day and a soccer coach by night. I'm like, I can't believe I saw soccer in an Australian Survivor bio.
No, I think we would say soccer.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought we just say
because
football.
We have footy. No, we have like AFL.
Okay. I put him on Welcome to Wrexham, which is the Ryan Reynolds, Ron McElhenney show where they own a football club in Wrexham. I think he'd be fun to bring in as a coach.
Yeah, my mother-in-law's a member of the club. She's obsessed with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, but is that a reality show?
It is. Yeah. I mean, technically speaking, like it follows the two of them. Like it's not a competitive reality show. I guess the teams are competitive, but like nobody's getting eliminated every week.
Well, maybe they are, right? Isn't it about like facing relegation, much like Ted Lasso? Yeah.
Oh, it's like could the twist be that PD gets relegated? That is getting nullified and removed from the jury, getting relegated.
No, I think just like getting voted out is.
No, I feel like if you earn your spot on the jury and then it gets taken away from you, that feels like the equivalent of being relegated.
I feel like it might be funny if he just uses soccer terms for all of the actual, like the actual Survivor terms. Like instead of getting voted out, you get relegated. I don't know a lot of soccer terms, which is why I had to ask Peter, my own PD, to help me with the Malcolm mat. He said, header on in.
Oh, I like that.
Really?
Or you could
I
just
was
say
like,
goal.
yeah, goal. I had pitch in, like
Like
a
as
soccer
in
pitch.
like as in bitchin'.
No, like pitch in, like
Oh,
into
I
the
thought you meant
house.
like more so a pun on the word bitchin'. Like oh, that's
No,
pitchin'.
no, like how you would pitch into something, but also pitch into the house, but also a pitch is a soccer pitch.
Could you say like turf is always greener on the other side and it's an arrow pointing inside?
Yeah, that's great. See, we always get to something, I think.
Or how about this? Wipe your cleats.
Yeah, wipe it. Yeah, that was, a lot of the things have gone in that direction.
I mean,
Just like the
to
footwear
be
one
fair, a
might wear.
welcome mat is supposed to do two things:
Wipe your
welcome
cleats
you
is good,
and tell
yeah.
you to wipe your shoes before you go in. There's really a limited number of uses to this.
That is true. Well, I think that's good. I think we did very well. We're up to our last person of the Brawn Tribe. This is Zen.
Now for your moment of zen.
Where is I'm here? Okay, we are here together. Here's Zen. Zen is a hip hop artist. He says he wants to be the best Zen. I don't know what that means though.
And actually, he has a very particular kind of stage name. He is Z.E.N, and there's no dot after the N. It's sort of like the logo for Friends. The dots are only between the letters.
Yeah, that's good for the OCD as well. No, that one it's fine.
Yeah, don't tell Kate how it's spelled, Zen.
What does that stand for? Like if it's well, I guess friends is just friends. But what is
Yeah,
Zen?
I think his name is probably Zen, and he just like stylized it that way. I mean, that's
Okay.
his Instagram handle as well.
I am just writing it normally. Is that
I mean, his name
not
is also written normally too. He didn't spell it with the dots in his official bio.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I had some question marks about Zen. Mainly, well, okay. So he says he wants to play not like dumb, but he can't. He's gonna have to not be the leader, which is gonna be really hard for him. I was like, that's kind of a red flag. It sounds like you just are gonna be the leader. Then he says he's a control freak. He said he's gonna have to hide the testosterone. That's a direct quote. I thought this guy seems pretty young, and then I looked it up, and he's the youngest on the cast. But I could tell that before I looked at the ages, and I think that's the issue.
He is 23 years old, and yeah, he very much has this like hot-headed upstart rapper energy in him. And I think sooner rather than later, people are going to be telling him, put down the mic, bro. Put down the pred. Pick up the eraser. We're erasing you from this game. Stop rapping. I think Zen is going to crash and burn. Kristen's worst nightmare.
Yes. I also had him pre-merge for that reason. I kind of felt like it was like just red flags everywhere. That's my issue.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now, listen, I would not make exact one-to-one comparison that, like, I got big Zach energy from him. And I don't think he's going to walk around making as explicit sexist comments as Zach did. But I very much get that energy of, like, my way or the highway. I feel like I should be the one taking charge and being the most vocal. Like, if he is saying preseason he can't help himself, he's definitely not going to help himself when he's deprived nutritionally. Like, he's going to deflect to that personality. And even if you think like he'll take up like the churlish young jokester type of angle, that's already filled by a couple guys on this tribe, to your point. And so I really don't see a space for him to fit in. I think he is somebody that the Brawn Tribe, despite his physical acumen, would not be afraid to lose. Because like he is very strong, but he might be that case for the Brawn where they say the costs far outweigh the benefits.
Yeah, it's like a very dangerous combination. Like he seems cocky, but he's also the youngest person on the tribe. And we're saying the cast is like, you know, pretty much older and parents. And I feel like he's saying it'd be really hard not to be the leader. Like he's gonna come in and do that to all these people who are older than him. They're gonna be like, who is this joker? And I think that'll probably be the end of Zen. That's kind of how I see it. I looked at some of his rapping. It's pretty good. I like the line, once you start learning, the L becomes silent. Think about it.
I love that. Could be a nice connected point with Nunan.
Yeah, and with a lot of the teachers.
Maybe Nunan could bring in Zen as like, remember on Abbott Elementary when Janine brought her then boyfriend in to rap about the drugs? Like maybe she could do that with Zen.
Yeah, well, the issue is I would say he could give it to Max, but I don't think he's going to meet Max.
Maybe when they're like wrestling with each other with those bags on the platform, then he'll rap them. I do absolutely
as he's getting wrestled. Once you start learning, the L becomes silent.
I mean, God, Shannon, I could see this clear as day. Zen, the tribe has spoken. He turns around like, JLP, drop a beat. And then he's like, does a diss track to everyone remaining on his tribe, which will be plentiful at that point.
Screw you guys. I hate my tribe. You're all so dumb. That's why you want brains.
And Kate's like, is Drake behind me again? Why are we doing diss tracks?
Now let's talk about Nunan. No, not that Nunan. The other Nunan. I hate you both. This is some good stuff.
Wow.
Right?
Oh, Shannon, my God. Why have you not spit hot fire behind the microphone previous?
I ask myself that very question every day.
You love Hamilton.
I do. I love rapping. I'm a big rap fan. I said I would put him on the X Factor. Is that a show that still exists? X Factor?
I believe it does in the UK where it originated. But yeah, I also put him on Making the Band, actually, because like, I don't know, actually, if he's someone who, on the one hand, if he's someone that has to be a control freak, that would make him a disaster in a group with other people. On the other hand, that's kind of the point of the show. Like, if they want to make the maximum amount of drama, make him the hot-headed leader amongst all these other cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. There's some issues, but I mean, I hope he proves us wrong. I hope we're all just the stupid idiots he will rap about. But for his welcome mat, I had "That's a Rap," and that's also what people might be saying after the first episode.
Yeah, I think so. Or like,
especially if Nash is immune. Like that was the other like distractor, and now it's like he has the idol. So
maybe him and Nash could work together. Maybe it's like the most vocal, obnoxious members of the tribe can be like, we need each other in this moment. They're coming for us for some reason.
Yeah.
I could say maybe something like the exit Matt could be like, wrap it up.
Wrap it up is good. That's great too. But then again, you have to change it for when you are actually like leaving and going in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a wrap you could also have when you're leaving. We don't have one for going in.
Could be like drop the mic in your shoes.
Drop the mic in your shoes.
Drop your
shoes.
Drop your shoes. We are merging. No shoes allowed.
We're merging into my home. Look, they're not all winners, Mike. It was a hard...
Yeah, is that JLP's welcome mat? You're merging into my home.
I think JLPs should be like, no shirts allowed.
Yeah, it could be that, or like Battle of the Big Souls.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I hope I never have to drop this mic. You.
I hope not either, because we have to get training for the Amazing Race for our own Zen-esque disastrous finish.
Yeah, I know. We come in here and we're like, they're going to be first boot, but we know that in many ways, even on Survivor, it would be me
so
as well.
Look at us here, despite the fact that the Brains, as you mentioned before, are currently up 1-0 in the battle of Brains v Brawn. We both went with Brawn here for our winner pick. You had Jesse and I had Ben.
I have so many questions about so many of these players that I put pre-merge just with so many concerns. And I hope they all prove me wrong. Some of them are going to have to make the merge just statistically. But look, it makes for a very fun cast. Like, this is what I prefer. They were all perfect Survivor robots, it would be the new era. And I'm kidding. No, if they were all perfect Survivor robots, it would be less fun. The fact that it looks like we have some train wrecks on our hand, that's good. That's fun. So I'm really excited for this season. I'm not just like, oh, I want to watch AUV World. No, we're here for Brains v Brawn. We've looked at the cast. We're having a lot of fun, and I'm excited for it.
I'm really excited for this. Again, we've talked about this. AU has really just been on a tear, in particular with the last couple seasons, with its casting, especially last time. I think they did a really good job of both bringing on personalities, but also some people that had baked in fandoms as well. So it became a little bit less of like these people trying to figure out Survivor on the fly, though it's great when it happens sometimes, e.g. Kirby. But I think this is a really interesting group of people. There are definite personalities, and it's always going to be intriguing, especially in the long marathon game of Australian Survivor, to see for some of these people, when will those personalities translate into gameplay as well, right? Like, when will some of those bigger forces, will they be like the Davids and come out immediately swinging by being like, I'm going to be a big character, but also I'm going to make all these wild moves, versus somebody else, maybe like a Ferris, who's more so like lying in wait until these opportune moments come along, and then you take the game by storm. Again, I am hoping that people are going to be building off of the momentum that Titans v Rebels maybe gave them the freedom to realize what they could do, especially in a newbie season, which makes it very exciting for me. I'm very excited to check out and see, to your point, how right, but mostly how wrong we were. And I have, covered my doorstep with all of these welcome mats, and I'm ready to open the door to Titans v Rebels in just a couple weeks' time and step in.
You said Titans v Rebels.
No, well, I had it on the brain. Brains
Almost
versus
stuck the
Brawn can
landing
hang out there
onto
as
the
well.
welcome mat. Yeah, when you said the Davids, it took me a while because I was picturing the Davids tribe. But now I get you mean David from this series that we're watching now, Australian Survivor.
And Dondi.
Speaking of, yes, new. Look at if you're watching the video, look, we know globalsurvivor.com, that's live because I won 2 Truths and a Lie with Rob. And that's how it got decided, and that's how things get done in RHAP. And so follow me at Shannon Gates. There's more pre-season coverage to come because the season's in just under a couple of weeks. We're gonna have Ursula look, we're gonna have a draft. Maybe some other stuff, I don't know, probably that. And then, as was said, recaps after every episode. Mike's going to be a big part of that as well. Once we know more information, we will give it to you. It's going to be fun. It's all going very well. And then we're going to have a feedback show with the guests. We're going to have the regular X interviews, and we'll be covering Survivor 48. And that's what the next 2 months of my life looks like. Follow me at Shannon Gates so you don't miss any of it. Because I'm going to post all the content. I'm going to be less on social media this season. I feel like I just want to make content all the time. And like the podcast. And that's where you'll find me here, chained to this chair, never leaving ever. Mike, what about you? You're chained to the chair.
Yeah, because right now I'm able to cover another preseason. Of course, last week, in between our cast review podcast, Shannon, the cast of Survivor 48 dropped, and I had the great pleasure of going out there to the beaches of Fiji to talk with these 18 cast members. And so every weekday, we are releasing 2 interviews a day over on Rob Has a Podcast in both audio and video form. And then, after we go through a tribe, aka 6 interviews, then Rob and I get together to give our brief thoughts about them, who's going to get along, who might not. And so at the point this is coming out, you should have heard the first 6 interviews with the Logi tribe, the first tribe of Survivor 48. Rob and I will get the chance to sit down and talk about them, and then we move on to the next group. If you want an early catch up on some of those interviews, I also write about Survivor over at parade.com, while I have a bunch of interviews up with the other Survivor contestants. And listen, I'm going to pimp out my own content here, but I think you should check it out. I think if we talk about a cast that is full of personality, like AU, Brains V Brawn II, Survivor 48 is a cast chock full of personality. And I've received some very kind, warm words to the castaways that people have experienced so far. So don't let yourself be out of the loop. Check out everything we have going on over there. And of course, whenever reality TV news happens to pop up in the ether, you can check out the Reality Flash over at therealityflash.com, where I am in your eyes and ears bringing you bite-sized podcasts with all the breaking news you need to know about the wide world of reality TV, including if and when, Shannon, all these people show up on the other shows like we manifested, when the inevitable Kaylin-Kristen pairing comes to Australian Amazing Race next year.
Yeah, you're doing it all, Mike, impossibly so. I do appreciate as well that some of the players from this season have been listening to this. I'm slid into my DMs to talk about their welcome mats and other things that are less important. Yeah, did I not? Yeah.
Oh, we'll talk offline about this. Hello.
Yes, thank you guys for being nice. And thank you, we're just 2 idiots who are one day going to be first boots on the Amazing Race. Like, we literally know nothing. I made everyone pre-merge. My theory is if you make everyone pre-merge, then you'll be right 50% of the time, right? Or maybe just less because they've been having really big merges. It's not a good game plan, okay? But it's my plan A, and then plan B will be that I'll just do it better in the future.
And then next time, you'll just do a little bit better. You'll do 10 post-merge instead of 5.
Yeah, it'll just be better. But this was a lot of fun. Mike, always a great time.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you, Shannon. You are really diving headfirst into, as Rob said, the brawniest, meatiest coverage you have ever done. But if there's
keep going. Yes, keep
going. If there's one person we could trust it with, it's in your hands. But now I'm greatly intrigued by your exclamation in the middle of my sentence.
I forgot to say, I'm so glad you said this and jogged my memory right at the end of the podcast. The orthopedic surgeons are apparently the brawniest profession. Multiple people told me that's like a thing.
So, but are sports doctors, are they also orthopedic surgeons, I guess? Is it like a square rectangle thing?
No, sports doctors are like not the surgeon part of it. So it's like similar like stuff on like the human skeleton, not just the feet. Yeah, I think that, but it's like a thing in medicine. People wanted me to know. So I needed to clarify a retraction of what we
I
said
have
last
learned
time.
so much about the world of orthopedics. It's one of the many reasons why I love getting to do this with you, Shannon.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience for us all, truly.
Yeah, and people messaged me, so I would have been upset if I didn't say it, but just in the nick of time.
Well, listen, what I will say is when it comes to this voluminous amount of fantastic coverage coming our way, Shannon, break a leg. And I know a doctor who might help you if you do.
Yeah. The whole
No,
body.
she does
could
more
be
than feet.
helped. Yeah, 100%. Well, this has been so extremely fun. Thank you, Mike. Thank you to everyone listening, the players and also the not players. Thank you to our team behind the scenes, and we will see you next time. Bye.